The Senate will come to order. The senators will please take their seats. Those persons not entitled to the privilege of the floor will please retire to the gallery. The senators and all in attendance will stand and be led in prayer by the Bishop Jerome L. Williams, New Testament Church, Portsmouth, Virginia.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we offer our humble gratitude for your freedom in America. We are grateful to live in a beautiful and a diverse country. Thank you for the leaders who have risen from the halls of these chambers. We pray now that you give them direction over how to govern our state. We are humbled and pray for blessings upon this great state and leaders. As you have commanded us to pray for those in authority over us, we pray for their families and for their safety, even now while they're here. We are grateful for each representative who has stepped out of the ordinary in their lives to serve in this leadership. Lord, we ask you for grace on these men and women as they endeavor to govern the people of this great state. We long for cities to come and builders who makers is God. Grant each of these litigators grace and peace today. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
Clerk will call the roll. All those in attendance will record their vote aye. Clerk will close the roll.
You have a quorum, Mr. President. Senate Journal for Friday, March 2nd, 2018.
Senator from Portsmouth, Senator Lucas, moves that the reading of the journal be waived. All in favor of waiving the reading of the journal will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 35, noes 3.
Ayes 35, noes 3. The reading of the journal is waived. Clerk will report any communications from the House of Delegates. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Good morning, Monday afternoon, Mr. President.
Good afternoon, Senator.
I respectfully move that we waive the reading of any communications received from the House of Delegates.
Thank the Senator. Question is, shall the reading of the communication be waived? All in favor of waiving the reading of the communication from the House of Delegates will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 2.
Ayes 37, noes 2. The reading of the communication from the House of Delegates is waived. Clerk will report any communication from the governor.
We do not have any, sir.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Now comes the time in the morning hour. We have the privilege and the pleasure of welcoming our distinguished guests here in the gallery. I would give my friendly daily reminder of the way the process will go. We'll have senators rise to introduce an individual or group. I will then offer the warm welcome of the Senate, and then we will all clap at once together at the end. I'd like to begin by calling on the Senator from Portsmouth, Senator Lucas.
Good morning, Mr. President.
Good morning, Senator. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. President, seated in the gallery is the Minister of the Morning who gave us that beautiful prayer. He is Bishop Jerome Williams. He is the pastor of New Testament Church, and he's been the pastor there since 2001. Bishop Williams leads one of the most fervent church congregations in Virginia. In the last 6 years, the 32-year-old church has grown from approximately 75 members to over 750 members, of which I visit often. The church currently has more than 40 ministries that emancipates the oppressed, equips the masses, and exalts Jesus Christ. Being a man of action, Bishop Williams has obtained a number of awards and accolades for outstanding services in the community and received a bachelor's degree in religious studies from Chapel Bible University in Tallahassee, Florida, and a master's degree in ministry from Richmond, Virginia Seminary. He has crossed denominational lines and spoken in numerous conventions and ministries meetings, conducting marriages, seminars, as well as life-changing revivals. He is also the proud husband of First Lady Shawan Williams and a devoted father to his remarkable son, Gerard, and he's also the classmate, he and his wife both, to my daughter Teresa.
Thank the senator. Would Bishop and First Lady Williams please rise in the gallery? Thank you both so much for being here today. Bishop, thank you for that really gorgeous and powerful prayer. We're so grateful to you for your moral leadership here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. We echo the generous and eloquent words of the Senator from Portsmouth, Senator Lucas. We are so deeply appreciative of all the dedication that both of you have taken on to make our Commonwealth such a wonderful place to live, and for making us rise to the better angels of our nature. I've had the honor and the privilege of worshiping with you and look forward to doing so again. You are welcome here anytime in the Senate. And I would ask everyone please to join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to Bishop and First Lady Williams. The junior senator from Loudoun County, Senator Wexton.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for purposes of an introduction.
Thank the senator. You have the floor.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, joining us in the gallery today are my three interns, Milena Llanos, Raya Kalbune, and Mary McKellar. Raya and Milena are from VCU, and Mary goes to University of Richmond. And all three of them specifically asked to work with me, which was super flattering. And it now occurs to me that maybe it wasn't true, and I was just told that. But it worked because I'm very fond of all of them. They are fantastic. They have been so helpful to me this session, and I hope that they have learned a little bit about how we create legislation here in Richmond. So, Mr. President, if you would please extend to them the very warm welcome of the Senate.
I thank the senator. Would Milena, Raya, and Mary please rise in the gallery if you're able? Thank you all so much for joining us here today. Thank you for your tremendous work as legislative interns. It's such an important function here to make sure that we're doing our best work in the Senate, and we're grateful to have bright minds like yours to help guide our great process. And I want to echo the generous words of your boss, the junior senator from Loudoun County, who is, I'm sure, a wonderful person to work for. So go Rams, go Spiders. And you guys are welcome here anytime as part of the Senate family. I would ask everyone please to join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to our three leaders, our legislative interns. Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. President. Rise for an introduction.
Thank the senator. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. In the gallery today, we have Miss Hannah Knight. Hannah interns for me back in my office in the district in Fredericksburg. Outside of session is the daughter of a good friend and supporter, Laird Knight, who is a big activist where we live. She's come to witness this session and for the first time, and to help out my legislative assistant, Cassie Horn. Mr. President, I would ask that you would give her the warm welcome of the Senate.
I thank the senator. Would Hannah Knight please rise in the gallery if you're able? Hannah, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you also for your work with Senator Reeves, and I know it's excellent work that you do to help keep his district office running, and greatly appreciate you being a part of the Senate family. Thank you for your leadership here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. We look forward to great things from you in the future, and I would ask everyone please to join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to Hannah Knight. Senator from Henrico, Senator Donovan. Or are we going to have your seatmate? Junior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator D-Step.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for an introduction.
Thank the senator. You have the floor.
So today we have my seatmate's daughters in the gallery. We have Helen Gray, who's going to W&L Law, and we have Dwyer Donovan going to JMU. So they're keeping an eye on her mom and making sure she stays like laser sharp and in line. So with that, we'd like to give them the warm welcome of the Senate. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the senator. Would Helen Gray and Dwyer Donovan please rise in the gallery if you're able? Helen and Dwyer, thank you all so much for joining us here today. Thank you for everything that you do to support your wonderful mom and the work that she does here in the Senate to make the Commonwealth of Virginia a better place. We also are very grateful for your leadership and congratulate you on W&L Law School, a great law school, and on JMU. Go Dukes, a wonderful university. So thank you. You are part of the Senate family, and of course, welcome here anytime. I know your mom is beaming with pride at the both of you. And I would ask everyone please to join me in extending the warmest welcome of the Senate to the daughters of our senator, Senator Donovan. Senator from Russell, Senator Chafin.
Mr. President, I rise for a motion. I rise to request unanimous consent of the body to introduce a bill.
Thanks, Senator. You want to speak to the bill?
Speaking of that motion, this is a bill that relates to animal shelters, administration, and biological products and vaccinations of companion animals.
I thank the senator. Question is, shall the Senate grant consent to introduce a bill relating to the matters, animal shelters and others, described by the senator from Russell? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The consent of the Senate is granted to introduce the bill. Do any other senators wish to be recognized for purposes of an introduction? Is there any other business to come in the morning hour? Seeing none, the clerk will call the calendar.
Senate calendar for Monday, March 5th, 2018, page 8. Senate Bill 545. We have a conference report.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I move that we adopt the conference report. And speaking to that motion,
Senator has the floor.
This is the court reporter bill. It is the bill that deals with establishing certain standards and restoring the order of things as court reporters being officers of the court. This conference report really just does one substantive thing. It adds associated videography services to the services that court reporters offer so that this bill won't interfere with the package of services traditionally offered by court reporters in Virginia. It also changes an N to a two, or vice versa, a two to an N. But otherwise, and finally, it makes it clear that lawyers and law firms can have lists of preferred court reporters. So that's what the conference report does. I renew my motion to adopt.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the Senate adopt the conference committee report on Senate Bill 545? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 2.
Ayes 38, noes 2. The Senate adopts the conference committee report on Senate Bill 545.
Turning to page 10, unfinished business House. House Bill 188. Conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the chairman of Courts of Justice, Senator Obenshain, or Senator Stewart, Obenshain, and Deeds. House Bill 762. Conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the co-chairs of Senate Finance, Senators Norman and Hanger, or Saravel, Norman, and Carrico. Page 11, House Bill 767. Conferees on the part of the Senate is named by the Chair of Privileges and Elections, Senator Vogel, or Senators Cosgrove, Reeves, and Eben. Turning to page 13, unfinished business Senate. Senate Bill 273 has passed the House with a substitute.
From Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request that we reject the House substitute and speak to that request.
Senator has the floor.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, this is the recess bill. The House came up with a slightly different version. I think we're going to work it out in conference, but in order to get there, I need you to reject. So having made that request, I move we accept the House substitute.
I thank the senator. With the recommendation that it be rejected, the question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 1, noes 39.
Ayes 1, noes 39. The House substitute is rejected.
Senate Bill 330 has passed the House with a substitute.
Senator from Henrico, Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we accept the substitute from the House. It basically provides an amendment to clarify the process for background checks to be consistent with the state police policy and procedures, and it adds an emergency clause. So I move that the Senate accept the amendments.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 0.
Ayes 38, noes 0.
Senate Bill 346 has passed the House with amendment.
Senator from Lynchburg, Senator Peake.
Yes, Mr. President, I move that we concur with the House amendment.
Senator, like to speak to that motion?
Yes, Mr. President, this is my cancer prevention. This allows, let me make sure which one we're on here. What? I have two.
346.
Yes, this is the purchasing of training to help prevent cancer. So we the House amended the language a little bit. Did not change the essence of the bill, but this will allow local volunteer fire departments to buy equipment that will help hopefully prevent cancer and study that. I move that we adopt the amendment, concur with the amendment.
I thank the Senator. Question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendment? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Senate Bill 347 has passed the House with amendments.
Senator from Lynchburg, Senator Peake.
Mr. President, yes, I'm ready this time. Thank you. I move that we concur with the amendment and speaking to the amendment.
Senator has the floor.
This is to create a cancer the cancer registry exists. It's to help follow firefighters so that we can determine what types of cancer firefighters are more susceptible to. The amendment eliminated some language that they felt might have been too intrusive in medical care and allows this with the line going forward to get the data that they think they need to see how our volunteer and professional firefighters are contracting cancer.
Thank the Senator. Question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendments? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Senate Bill 376 has passed the House with a substitute.
Senator from Russell, Senator Chafin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we concur with the House substitute. And speaking to that,
thank you, Senator. You have the floor.
The substitute adds a sunset to the provision exempting the particular charitable organization from the $10,000 floor.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Senate Bill 586 has passed the House with amendment.
Junior Senator from Virginia Beach, Senator D. Steph.
Mr. President, I recommend we concur with the House amendments. And speaking to that,
Senator has the floor.
What this does is refers to the code section which explains what it is to be an antique motor vehicle. That's what it is. We added the code section. With that, I would like to move that we accept the House amendments.
Thank the Senator. Question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendment? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Senate Bill 622 has passed the House with amendment.
Senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Surville.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move we accept the House amendment. Speaking to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
This just adds a subsection requested by the Northern Virginia Transportation Authority to make this bill a little bit clearer, and I would ask that we accept the amendment.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendment? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Senate Bill 755 has passed the House with amendments.
Senior Senator from Richmond City, Senator Sturdivant.
Mr. President, I move that we concur with the House amendments and speaking to that.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, these are technical amendments that the House made, removing unnecessary references to the ERISA program. And so this is a cleaner and better bill, surprisingly, with the House's amendments. And I move that we concur with them.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendments? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 0.
Ayes 38, noes 0.
Senate Bill 825 has passed the House with a substitute.
Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, I move that we reject the House substitute. Mr. President, you recall the Senate version went out of this House 39-1, having to do with the Board of Elections and how it was organized. The House had a different approach. We need to get it in conference, and so with a recommendation, we reject the House substitute. I move that we accept it. But vote red.
Thank the senator. With the recommendation that it be rejected, the question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 7, noes 33.
Ayes 7, noes 33.
Senate Bill 899 has passed the House with a substitute.
Senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we agree with the House substitute. And speaking to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you. This has to do with language in Clark County, and this was substitute language at my request that was necessary to clarify the designation of that property. And with that, I would ask that we accept the substitute. Thank you.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Senate Bill 983 has passed the House with a substitute.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, with the recommendation that be rejected, I would ask that the House substitute be concurred with. And speaking to that motion,
Senator has the floor.
This is the split precinct bill, which was intended to provide a framework for redistricting for the next decade after the next census. I think that it left this body with near unanimous support, if not unanimous support. And what the House did was, rather than looking forward to the next decade, it simply adopted a prohibition on splitting precincts from 2019 to 2021 and does nothing for the next decennial census period. So with that, I would ask that we reject the House substitute.
Thank the senator. With the recommendation that it be rejected, question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 1, noes 39.
Ayes 1, noes 39.
Senate Bill 265, the House insists on its amendment and requests a committee of conference.
Senator from Accomack, Senator Lewis.
Mr. President, I move that we accede to the House's request for a committee of conference.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall the Senate accede to the request for a committee of conference? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Conferees on the part of the Senate on Senate Bill 265 as named by the Chairman of General Laws and Technology, Senator Ruff, are Senators Stewart, Lewis, and Chafin. Senate Bill 772. The House insists on its substitute and requests a committee of conference.
Senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Servell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we accede to the House request for a committee conference and speaking to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, this bill is the Norfolk 4 bill. There's a couple of policy issues we need to work out. We just appointed conferees on the House bill. I'd move we do the same on this one.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the Senate accede to the request for a committee of conference? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Conferees on the part of the Senate on Senate Bill 772 is named by the co-chairs of Senate Finance, Senators Norman and Hanger, are Senators Howell, Serville, Norman, and Carrico.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, having voted on the prevailing side of Senate Bill 983 on page 17, I would respectfully ask that we reconsider that vote.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the vote by which Senate Bill 983 passed be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record. We rejected the House substitute. By which we rejected the House substitute be reconsidered. All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Mr. President.
Senator from James City County.
The senator from Rockingham, having previously explained Senate Bill 983 and the position of the House, I would ask that we reject the substitute from the House of Delegates, and that everyone can vote this occasion.
Thank the Senator. With the recommendation that it be rejected, the question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 0, noes 40.
Ayes 0, noes 40.
Page 19, House Bill with Governor's recommendations. House Bill 788.
Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we adopt the governor's recommendation and speak to that.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. This House bill basically requires tax preparers to provide an identification number on the Virginia tax returns that they're filing. And the amendments proposed by the governor are technical. We inadvertently referred to the taxpayer rather than the tax preparer. Taxpayers prepare in a couple of instances in a section of the bill that was not related to the primary purpose. So I would move to adopt the governor's recommendation.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the bill be amended in accordance with the recommendation of the governor? All in favor of amending the bill in accordance with the recommendation of the governor will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Uncontested calendar, House bills on third reading.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would now move all the House bills on the third reading on the uncontested calendar, which would include all House bills on pages 20 through 40 including House Bill 770 through House Bill 1580, be placed on their final passage in the block after the adoption of any amendments. Any senator who may desire to remove a House bill from the block should please do so after the clerk has read the number of the bill.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall House bills on the uncontested calendar third reading, pages 20 through 40, House Bill 770 through House Bill 1580, be placed upon their final passage in a block after the adoption of any amendments thereto, with the understanding that any senator desiring a bill be removed from the block will do so after the clerk has read the number of the bill. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The bills are before us in the block. Clerk will read the number of the bills.
Eager today. House Bill 770, reported for the Committee on Finance with a substitute.
Mr. President.
Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator
Can that
Reed.
bill come out of the block and go by for the day, please?
Without objection, House Bill 770 will come out of the block and go by for the day.
House Bill 1452, reported from the Committee on Local Government. House Bill 3.
Mr. President.
Senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase.
Can House Bill 1452 please come out of the block?
Without objection, House Bill 1452 will come out of the block.
House Bill 3, reported from the Committee
Mr.
on...
President, can House Bill 3 come out of the block and go by for the day, please?
Without objection, House Bill 3 will come out of the block and go by for the day.
House Bill 165, reported from the Committee on Education and Health with amendments.
Junior Senator from Loudoun County.
Could House Bill 165 come out of the block and go by for the day, please?
Without objection, House Bill 165 will come out of the block and go by for the day.
House Bill 166, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice. House Bill 167, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 212, reported for the Committee on Rules with amendments.
Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that we agree with the committee amendments.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to.
House Bill 236, reported from the Committee on Transportation. House Bill 329, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 337, reported from the Committee on Rules with amendments.
Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that we agree with the committee amendments.
Thank the Senator. Question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to.
House Bill 366, reported for the Committee on Finance with amendments.
Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the committee amendments be agreed to.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to.
Mr. President.
Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
House Bill 366 come out of the block. Go by for the day, please.
Without objection, House Bill 366 will come out of the block and go by for the day.
House Bill 371, reported from the Committee on Rules with a substitute.
Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Mr. President, I move that we agree to the committee substitute.
Thank the Senator. Question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to.
House Bill 376, reported from the Committee on Rules. House Bill 384, reported for the Committee on Rules. House Bill 443, reported for the Committee on Education and Health with amendment.
Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, could that bill go by for the day?
Without objection, House Bill 443 will be taken out of the block and go by for the day.
House Bill 454, reported for the Committee on Education and Health with amendment.
Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that the amendment be agreed to.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is agreed to.
House Bill 505, reported from the Committee on Transportation. House Bill 530, reported from the Committee on Rules. House Bill 554, reported from the Committee on Transportation with amendments.
Senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move the committee amendments.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to.
House Bill 632, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 662, reported from the Committee on Transportation. House Bill 685, reported from the Committee on Education and Health with amendment.
Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that the bill go out of the block and by for the day.
Without objection, House Bill 685 will come out of the block and go by for the day.
House Bill 712, reported from the Committee on Transportation.
Senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico.
Can that bill come out of the block?
Without objection, House Bill 712 will come out of the block.
House Bill 764, reported from the Committee on Finance with amendment.
Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Mr. President, I move the committee amendment be agreed to.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is agreed.
Mr. President, can that bill go by for the day now?
Yes. House Bill 764, without objection, will go by for the day after the adoption of the committee amendment.
House Bill 803, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 829, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 847, reported from the Committee on Rules. House Bill 901, reported from the Committee on Rules with amendment.
Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Thank you, Mr. President. Could House Bill 901, could we agree to the committee amendments?
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is agreed to.
House Bill 919.
Mr. President, can that bill come out of the block and go by for the day?
Which bill, Senator? I want to be clear. 901 or
HB
919?
919.
Without objection, House Bill 919 will come out of the block and go by for the day.
House Bill 986,
Mr.
reported.
President,
Senator from James City County, Senator
may
Norman.
we stand at ease for a moment?
Senate will stand at ease temporarily. Come to order. Senators will please take their seats.
House Bill 986, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with the substitute.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Could this go by temporarily?
Without objection, House Bill 986 will go by temporarily.
House Bill
Mr. President, I'm sorry.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
I move that we agree or adopt the committee substitute for House Bill 986.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is adopted.
House Bill 990, reported from the Committee on Rules. House Bill 991, reported from the Committee on Rules. House Bill 992, reported from the Committee on Rules. House Bill 1054, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 1086, reported from the Committee on Rules with a substitute.
Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Mr. President, could we agree to the committee substitute?
Senator, the question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to.
House Bill 1125, reported from the Committee on Education and Health with a substitute with amendment.
Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, differentiating a little bit, I think that this bill needs another amendment on the floor from the senator from Lynchburg, and therefore I would move that the bill go by for the day for the preparation of that amendment from the senator from Lynchburg.
Thank the Senator. Without objection, House Bill 1125 will go by for the day.
House Bill 1160, reported from the Committee on Rules. House Bill 1221, reported from the Committee on Finance. House Bill 1238, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice. House Bill 1246, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice. House Bill 1297, reported from the Committee on Rules with a substitute.
Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Mr. President, I move we agree to the committee substitute.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to.
House Bill 1324, reported from the Committee on Rules with a substitute.
Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Mr. President, I move we agree to the committee substitute.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to.
House Bill 1370, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 1415, reported from the Committee on Rules with amendments.
Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Mr. President, I move that we agree to the committee amendments.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to.
House Bill 1469, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with a substitute and from the Committee on Finance with an amendment.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I move that we adopt the courts substitute.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute from the Committee on Courts be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Committee substitute from Committee on Courts is adopted. Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Mr. President, I move the committee amendment from the Committee on Finance be adopted.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is adopted.
House Bill 1505, reported from the Committee on Rules. House Bill 1516, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with a substitute and from Finance with a substitute.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, with the recommendation that be rejected, I move that we adopt the court substitute.
Thank the Senator. With the recommendation that it be rejected, the question is, shall the court substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The noes have it. The substitute is rejected. Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Mr. President, I move the Finance Committee substitute be agreed to.
Thank the Senator. Question is, shall the committee substitute from the Committee on Finance be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to.
House Bill 1524, reported from the Committee on Education and Health with a substitute.
Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that the committee substitute be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to.
House Bill 1530, reported from the Committee on Education and Health. House Bill 1540, reported from the Committee on Rules with amendments.
Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Mr. President, I move we agree to the committee substitute amendment.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to.
House Bill 1580, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with a substitute and from the Committee on Finance with a substitute.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, with the recommendation that it be rejected, I move the adoption of the court substitute.
Thank the senator. With the recommendation that it be rejected, the question is, shall the substitute from the Committee on Courts be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The noes have it. The substitute is rejected. Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Mr. President, I move the Finance Committee substitute be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The substitute is agreed to. Question is, shall the House...
President?
Senator from Alexandria, Senator Eben.
Could House Bill 1297 be pulled from the block and go by for the day?
Could we have a page number, please?
Page number.
That's on page number 35.
Thank you.
Without objection, House Bill 1297 will be removed from the block and go by for the day. Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
Could House Bill 1516 on page 38 come out of the block and go by for the day?
Without objection, House Bill 1516 on page 38 will come out of the block and go by for the day. Question is, shall the House bills pass in a block? That is all bills except for House Bills 770, 1452, 3, 165, 366, 443, 685, 712, 764, 919, 1125, 1297, and 1516. All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Excuse me. Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The bills in the block pass.
Returning to page 20, House Bill 1452.
Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move that HB 1452 pass, and speaking to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
First, Mr. President, let me apologize for my voice, but right now my seatmates love it because I can't talk. So it's a lot quieter today for them. So, Mr. President, House Bill 1452 really amends the Regional Industrial Facility Authority, enables creation of regional industrial facility authorities. Usually the requirement under statute was that you had to have 3 localities to participate and create a regional authority. This allows now 2 localities, 2 counties, cities, and towns, or a variety thereof together, to come together to form a regional industrial facility authority. So for those reasons, Mr. President, I renew my motion that 1452 pass.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 1452? Senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would the gentleman from Franklin yield for a question?
Will the senator rise for a question?
Yes, Mr. President, I'll yield.
Senator yields. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Do you know if the locality's budget for this authority is approved by a elected body, like the Board of Supervisors?
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd answer the gentlelady by saying that when regional authorities are created between two bodies, not only the membership makeup and also the scope and form, but also the compensation for that or the cost and how it's shared between the regional localities is all determined by those local governments.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Question is, shall House Bill 1452 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 1.
Ayes 39, noes 1. House Bill 1452 passes.
Turning to page 29, House Bill 712.
Senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, House Bill 712 was heard in the Transportation Committee. This bill is dealing with the naming and of bridges, highways, and interchanges and facilities on the transportation side. There is several pieces of the language that was stricken from this bill that needs some further discussion, and I would make a recommendation that we re-refer this bill to transportation.
Recommit.
Senator, want to recommit the bill to transportation?
Mr. President.
Junior Senator from Richmond City, Senator McClellan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would the gentleman from Grayson yield for a question?
Will Senator yield for a question? Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Since today by midnight is the deadline by which committees have to act, will the Transportation Committee be meeting today?
Doesn't mean we won't, but I'm not going to say that we are.
I thank the gentleman.
For what purpose is Senator from Alexandria, Senator Eben rise?
To ask if the senator from Grayson would yield for one more question.
Will Senator yield for a question?
I'll yield.
Senator has the floor.
I would ask the senator if there was some new information about this topic that's come to light that would make the Transportation Committee reconsider its unanimous vote or that would preclude it being handled through a floor substitute tomorrow.
Mr. President, I would just say that we have been debating several bills over the course of this General Assembly about naming and renaming of highways, and nothing that we want to do in this bill that we would want to see done nefariously to the naming or renaming of highways and facilities in the Commonwealth.
Further question?
Speaking to the motion.
Senator has the floor.
I would just point out that the emphasis of this bill is not to name a facility after a live person, a person who's still living, and I think that's a good policy. I'm not on the Transportation Committee, but at least they unanimously agreed, and I would ask that we vote against the motion.
Thank you, Senator. Question is, shall the bill be recommitted to the Committee on Transportation? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. No. Chair is uncertain. We'll have a recorded vote. All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 21, noes 19.
Ayes 21, noes 19. The bill is recommitted to the Committee on Transportation.
Regular calendar, House bills on third reading. House Bill 424, a bill relating to animal shelters, administration, and biological products, reported from the Committee on Agriculture, Conservation, and Natural Resources.
Senator from King George.
Mr. President.
Senator from Franklin County. Senator Stanley.
Yes, Mr. President, can HB 424 go by for the day, please?
Without objection, HB 424 will go by for the day.
House Bill 1405, A bill relating to State Board of Elections membership, appointment of Commissioner of Elections, reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections with a substitute.
Senator from Falk.
And there's a floor substitute.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. My apologies. Senator from Falk here. Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Finally, I rise to ask that the committee substitute be agreed to. I'm sorry. Isn't that right? Thank you. Sorry. The senator from Rockingham threw me off when he went, huh? See, I'm listening. So, with that, I renew my motion that the committee substitute be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry. The question is, shall the committee substitute?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. President.
Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
I have a.
What purpose, Senator Rao?
I rise to have a different opinion regarding the committee substitute.
Senator has the floor.
In order to get to the floor substitute, we need to reject the committee substitute. The floor substitute is consistent with my original bill, 825, that went to the House, and the position of the Senate should remain consistent. The committee substitute is consistent with the House substitute. And so, therefore, in order to get to the floor substitute, we need to reject the committee substitute.
So, Mr. President, if I may, the senator from Roanoke City, his companion bill, which was Senate Bill 825, just recently came to the floor, and he asked us to act on his bill at his request, and I voted, and as did my colleagues, as he requested, so that his vehicle could survive the way he wished it to survive. And I am standing here, and as Senator has said before, this is not my bill, but I am standing as the chair of the Privileges and Elections Committee advocating on behalf of the companion bill that came from the House, and the substitute that was passed out of the Senate is the bill that I am standing and asking this body to adopt. It was passed out of the Privileges and Elections Committee, and I find myself in the somewhat awkward position of defending the senator from Roanoke City's original bill. The bill that he introduced, and the fact that the P&E committee originally was going to report that bill out unanimously until the senator from Roanoke City found himself in the somewhat awkward position of having to walk that back a little bit. I would just ask the members of this body to adopt the substitute passed out of the Senate Privileges and Elections Committee so that this bill could go to conference and that we could continue to have this discussion. The bill that was passed out of the Privileges and Elections Committee, the substitute, is the product of a 3-year work group by the general registrars and electoral boards representatives. And they worked through this for almost 3 years and brought to us this exact language, which is the language that then the senator from Roanoke City introduced, and he carried, and he has gotten a lot of praise. And if you sat in the Privileges and Elections Committee, you would hear how they praised him and praised him and praised him for carrying it. He got a little pushback then once it got to His Excellency, who asked him to make some changes to the bill. And I respect that he has done so. But I would just urge the members of this body to forbear and please let us get this into conference so that we can have a few more minutes of discussion, because what we're trying to do is work from the pure version of the bill. And that's what I would ask.
Senator from Roanoke City.
Mr. President, would this general lady yield for a question?
Will the senator yield for a question?
I would be happy to yield.
Senator yields. You have the floor.
Either way, it would probably end up in conference, correct? Either the committee substitute, if that passes, or the floor substitute, that would be inconsistent with the language of the House bill that came over. Is that right?
Senator has the floor.
If we accept your floor substitute, which will look like the language that you just asked us.
Right. Correct.
I'm not sure what we just did on your 825. I just know that I did what it was you asked me to do on your 825.
Well, Mr. Chairman,
yeah.
Senator,
the likelihood is my 825, since we rejected the House substitute, would end up in conference, assuming the House does not accept the Senate position. The substitute of the committee, I think, is slightly worded differently than the House original bill. But if it's not, and if it passes, if we accept the Senate, the P&E substitute, and it looks like the House substitute is going to go to the governor. And so, therefore, to be clear, the Senate should, my position is the Senate should have a consistent position, which is the floor substitute.
And Mr. President, I would just say that's not entirely correct. And I would just simply say that the House version of the bill, which was passed out of the Senate P&E, our substitute is what the House patron wishes us to pass and has asked me to please stand and advocate for, and it is what the work group has asked me to please stand and advocate for, and has asked me to please implore the members of this body to pass and send and put in conference.
Thank you, Senator. Question is, do any other senators wish to be heard on this motion? Senator from Alexandria, Senator Edmond. For the purpose of Senator Rise.
To speak to the motion to pass the P&E substitute.
Senator has the floor.
Just to clarify, I did vote for the substitute in committee. I'm changing my vote because I'm not clear that this will go to conference, and I'm not really sure that we should adopt the bill from the body down the hall rather than our bill. And if we conform this to our bill, I'm confident that it'll go to conference. If this one is passed, I think the House position would prevail over ours in spite of the better bill that the senator from Roanoke had, that we all voted for, I think. So I would ask that we reject this motion so that we could get to the floor substitute.
Mr. President.
The Senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel.
If I may, just to speak to my colleague who just spoke. So what he said is correct, but I think what he may be misunderstanding is what it is that we're voting on. The substitute that I'm asking for the members of this body to vote for is the actual bill that was voted on by the Senate Privileges and Elections Committee. So the language that I'm asking this body to pass is the actual bill that we passed out of P&E. And we took the original language that the senator from Roanoke City originally introduced, which was the sort of purest form of the GREB work group study. And they came forward and they said, this is how we would like to see the agency, the Department of Elections, and the Board of Elections reformed. We'd like to have 5 members with a 5-year term rotating out, and we'd like to have them appoint the head of the Department of Elections. That's the bill that we are moving from, and that was the senator from Roanoke City's original bill. That's the bill he introduced. When the House bill came over, we put his bill on top of the House member's bill. And then we passed that out. So the House member's bill that we're voting on the floor actually has his original bill on it. That's what we'd be voting on. He later changed his bill slightly and modified it. We have, in fact, gone over, and at the end of last week, we went over and we met with the governor. We've worked on it. And I would like to see us put it into conference so that we can work on it further. And what the House did to it, I know we're not supposed to talk about what happens in the other body, so I'm prepared to be admonished, but I think this is relevant. They made changes to it that I don't think anybody really liked. And so I would very much like to see the original pure version, and yes, there are parts of it that the governor doesn't like, but there are really good parts of it that we do like. And so, anyway, I renew my motion, and certainly out of respect to where we are and the fact that the good parts of this bill are his original bill, Senator from Roanoke City. So I just want to be clear. And it may be that it is still the case that the senator from Alexandria wishes to ask everybody to reject what the P&E committee did, but I would like to have the P&E committee's bill pass. Thank you.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is the senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the gentlelady rise for a quick question?
Will Senator rise?
I would be happy to.
Mr. President, I'd ask the gentlelady, based on all of that, is it your intention that you're asking us to reject the floor substitute and accept the committee substitute, which is the original bill?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the senator.
Clear as mud.
Mr. President.
Senator from Roanoke City.
To further clarify this, the governor supports the floor substitute.
Mr. President.
The bill that came out of the body. The governor does not support. does not support.
I hear you, Senator, has the floor.
Senator
from James City County.
Inquire. We are engaging in a running debate, sir.
We do. That's what we do here.
No, we don't.
Debate.
We do.
Senator Edwards, we defer to the Senator from Northern Fairfax. Senator Howe has not spoken yet.
Thank you, Mr. President, but he's not going to like what I'm going to say.
Senator has the floor.
This is really confusing, as I'm sure everybody knows. And it was equally confusing in Privileges and Elections Committee. I'm going to do probably, I may be alone in my caucus in what I'm going to do, but I think we should go back to the work of the task force that met for 3 years. If later on in the process we haven't come to an agreement, the third floor will have another opportunity to weigh in, and I'm sure if they feel strongly they will. But I agree, we haven't totally resolved this, and I'd like it to go forward. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the Senator. Question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to. The floor substitute is now out of order.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that House Bill 1405 pass.
The Senator wishes to speak to that motion?
Sure. Having almost been previously explained, what House Bill 1405 does is just what we alluded to briefly in the discussion of this substitute. It is the result of a 3-year effort by the general registrars and the electoral boards working to put forward a recommendation about reforms to the State Board of Elections and their operation. And what their recommendation is something that I believe that is more functional. It takes it from 3 to 5 members. And much of what I think this will do is allow what the legislature has done to be implemented by the State Board of Elections. And so, for example, when Delegate Sickles, not that long ago, passed legislation to implement training standards and materials that needed to be processed and circulated around the Commonwealth of Virginia, that has actually never happened. And so there are a number of things like that that are backed up, that are in the pipeline. And I think if we had more members that were able to operate with more accountability and, frankly, just more bandwidth, that a lot of the things that we know that needs to happen would actually happen. And so that's just one example. But they worked really hard, and these are the people who really are the experts. They are the subject matter experts, and they are looking to create an opportunity in an environment where this board could actually be more efficient. So with that, I would ask that the bill pass.
Thank you, Senator. For purpose, Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards, rise.
Mr. President, I urge the body to vote no on this version of the bill because the governor, among other things, has made it very clear he does not like this bill, and the likelihood of a veto is pretty high. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 1405? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1405 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 27, noes 13.
Ayes 27, noes 13. House Bill 1405 passes.
House Bill 708, a bill relating to rear-facing child restraint devices. The floor substitute has been adopted by the Senate, and we have one floor amendment.
Mr. President.
Junior Senator for Richmond City, Senator McClellan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the waiving of the floor amendment. I move the waiving of the reading of the floor amendment.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the reading of the floor amendment be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor amendment is waived. Junior Senator from Richmond City, Senator McClellan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we adopt the floor amendment, and speaking to that
Senator
motion.
has the floor.
Mr. President, after some tempers got heated the other day and cooler heads were able to prevail, thanks to the senator from James City County forcing us to talk a little longer. Hopefully we have reached peace in the valley, and what this floor amendment will do is make this, basically adopt the floor substitute that the senator from Chesapeake had, where it will still be primary offense, but that the language that the senator from Henrico had worked on the substance of the bill remains intact. And I ask that we adopt the floor amendment.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall the floor amendment be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. There being at least 8 hands, we'll have a recorded vote. All in favor of the motion will vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 25, noes 15.
Ayes 25, noes 15. The floor amendment is adopted. Junior Senator from Richmond City, Senator McClellan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the House Bill 708 be passed.
Does anyone want to speak to the bill?
Yes, I think this bill was fully debated last week. I think everyone probably knows how they're going to vote. But what this bill does is codifies the recommendations of the American Academy of Pediatrics, Advocates for Highway and Auto Safety, to have a child in a rear-facing car seat until either the age of 2 or when they meet the height or weight requirements for the car seat. But it also adds to, under current law, a doctor, if they believe that being in a rear-facing car seat based on weight or other factors are appropriate, they can grant a waiver for the driver of that car. And what the bill would do is now authorize them to grant such a waiver based on height as well. And I ask that we adopt the bill.
Thank the senator. For what purpose, the senator from Henrico, Senator Donovan, rise?
Mr. Chairman, I rise for a question. Will the junior senator from Richmond yield?
Will the senator yield for a question?
Yes.
Senator Yield, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm just curious as to whether or not, are you only striking after line 32?
What the floor amendment does is strikes lines 32 to 35.
Okay.
So 37 to 44 remains in the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was just clarifying there have been many amendments. I'd like to speak to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
I will encourage the body to vote against this bill. What pediatricians recommend is best recommended by pediatricians in their office, recommended by DMV on the website, recommended to parents even on the boxes in which they buy the car seats. We do not need to create criminal ramifications for our parents who are doing the best thing for their children. We do not need to control everybody else in the Commonwealth. We need to have faith in the fact that they have good brains to make good decisions for themselves, and maybe that's how we got here.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 708? Junior Senator from Richmond City, Senator McClellan.
Thank you, Mr. President. If no one else wishes to speak, I just would remind the body this is not a criminal citation. This is a traffic summons. We already went down this road when we adopted many years ago a requirement that a child must be in a child seat until they're 8. Without this bill, if a pediatrician thinks that a child is too tall to be in a rear-facing car seat or a forward-facing car seat, they can't do anything about it. The reason for the recommendation to be in a rear-facing car seat is not made up. It is based on the science of when the lumbar in your neck fuses to give you enough strength to be in a forward-facing seat. And I ask that we adopt the bill.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall House Bill 708 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 23, noes 17.
Ayes 23, noes 17. House Bill 708 passes.
House Bill 885, a bill relating to on-site sewage systems authority of the Board of Health. Reported from the Committee on Education and Health, and there is a floor substitute.
Mr. President.
Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I'm going to make a motion that this go by for the day, and then speaking briefly to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, because of a number of things that are going by for the day, this bill is one that the senator from Southern Fairfax and I have been working on. It relates to sewage systems. Currently, the bill would indicate that not only alternative but also conventional sewage systems in part of the Commonwealth would have to be pumped out every 5 years. That's a big change, and so the senator and I are trying to work our way through this. Hopefully we'll have something in the next day or so.
Thank the senator. Without objection, House Bill 885 will go by for the day.
House Bill 181, a bill relating to distracted driving penalty. Reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with amendments. We have several floor amendments and 2 floor substitutes.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, if I can maybe get this headed in the right direction, I guess we'll start with the committee amendments, which I suppose in order to make the floor substitutes in order, do we need to reject the committee amendments?
Yes.
All right. With the recommendation that they be rejected, I move the adoption of the committee amendments.
Thank the senator. With the recommendation that they be rejected, the question is, shall the committee amendments be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. No. The noes have it. The committee amendments are rejected. Senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator
Peterson.
Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would temporarily withdraw my floor amendments so we can get to the substitute.
Without objection.
Obenshain.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I have some floor amendments as well that I would withdraw.
The senator wish to permanently withdraw or temporarily?
I will permanently withdraw the floor amendment that I offered, not the floor substitute.
Without objection, the senator's floor amendment will be withdrawn. Senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Serville.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move that we waive reading of the floor substitute.
Question is, shall the reading of the floor substitute be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor substitute is waived. Senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Serville.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move the floor substitute and speaking to that motion.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. This floor substitute basically takes this distracted driving statute and turns it into a hands-free statute. And I'm going to tell you all a little story, and I'm going to explain the bill, and I'm going to tell you why you ought to vote for this. So, first of all, I want to tell you a story. There was a young man named Kyle Rowley. Back in 2011, he was 18 years old. He was in his first year of college. He was back for the summer. He was working at a Red Robin out in Sterling, Virginia. Lived in Herndon. And one night when he was coming home from work, his car ran out of gas coming up Route 7. Route 7, where it ran out of gas, is a 6-lane divided highway. It's dead straight, slightly uphill. And as he came up that hill, he ran out of gas. Turned on his blinkers, got out of his car. He was about 20 or 30 yards short of an intersection. And he was busy pushing his car off the side of the road. It was 10:30 at night. At the same time, there's this other guy, Jason Gage. Mr. Gage had just left a child custody exchange with his ex-wife, who he'd become involved with again. And he and his wife thought it'd be a good idea to have a conversation about their encounter as he drove home. And as Mr. Gage came up Route 7, he made dozens of text messages. Around 10:30 p.m., he ran into Kyle Rowley's car at 55 miles an hour without even touching his brakes. He had 1,000 feet of clear, straight road between him and a car that had its hazards on. Nobody else on the road in front of him. The impact immediately struck Kyle's car, immediately struck Kyle, and threw him in the middle of the road. Gage's car went flying, rolled 3 or 4 times, knocked Gage unconscious. Kyle was then struck by another car that ran over him, that was behind him, that couldn't deal with all the commotion that was going on in front of him. Kyle was killed instantly. The detectives came on the scene and couldn't figure out what in the world had happened. They had a car with its hazards on. They had a dead young man in the middle of the road. They had a car that hit it at full speed without braking. They went and they got to Mr. Gage in the hospital, who had been knocked out. He couldn't remember anything, couldn't tell him what happened. So they pulled this guy Gage's cell phone, and they found that he'd basically been sending text messages the entire way from Leesburg all the way up until 10:30 p.m. when the text messages stopped, of course, when the cars collided. Mr. Gage ended up being charged with reckless driving. The judge ended up finding that because we had made texting while driving a secondary offense, and the government couldn't prove any other illegal behavior besides the texting, judge acquitted him of reckless driving. That incident is what led to us making texting while driving a primary infraction back in the 2012 session. It was right after that, Delegate Klein called me up, said he'd seen in the paper what had happened. We needed to do something about it. We introduced legislation, and a bill got passed later that year. Last year, about 2 years ago, August 31, 2016, John Miller IV was driving around in an outlet shopping mall right outside of Leesburg, where for some reason he ran over 5-month-old Tristan Schultz in a baby stroller, in a crosswalk, in a parking lot. Commonwealth attorney charged him with reckless driving. They decided they couldn't prove anything other than texting while driving. He ended up pleading guilty to, actually they wanted to charge him with a felony. He ended up pleading guilty, Mr. Miller did, but not to texting while driving. But I would like to know what in the world would cause somebody to run into a 5-month-old in a baby stroller in a crosswalk in a shopping center if somebody wasn't looking at their phone. July 13, 2013, Manassas police officer Heather Munsterman was struck by a texting driver while doing a traffic stop. She ended up with a brain injury, multiple broken bones, off the force for 6 months. This is happening on a daily basis. We need to do something more than just criminalize or create a statute for distracted driving. The first bill went in, I think it was Senator Cosgrove's bill, or maybe he was a delegate at the time back in 2007 when we put the first statute on the books. We fixed it up in 2012, and now we have an opportunity to get this right, finally. So what this bill does, you have in front of you, is it draws the line at hands-free. The bill, the substitute that you have, passed the Transportation Committee this year. It did have problems in the Courts Committee, but it did pass the Transportation Committee. It draws the line at having your phone in your hand while your car is moving. If you're stopped, you're fine. If your car is moving, the phone cannot be in your hand. It makes it clear that you can use your phone for GPS or music if you have it mounted. If it's mounted on a windshield or if it's mounted on a dashboard, you can have it there to see for GPS. That's a question that's come up. It has the CB amateur radio exception, which I know many of you all probably got emails about earlier this session. It has that in there. It has an exception for emergencies. It makes it a traffic offense, not a Class 1 misdemeanor, which is another concern that I've heard throughout this process. It also says you can use OEM, original manufacturer, original manufacturer's equipment that's in the car. So if you're using your Bluetooth through your car stereo, you're fine. If you have a Bluetooth headset, you're fine. If you have a wired headset plugged into your ear, you're fine. This is the same type of law that's been passed in many other states, but it's a better way to go. I'm going to tell you why. Number one, it's easier to enforce than the current law or the bill you have before you that we're trying to amend here. Whether or not the phone is in your hand or not is a clear line. Whether or not right now under current law, whether or not the current law makes it illegal to use a phone for purposes of enter texts or numbers in a phone for purposes of communication. And right now, basically law enforcement has stopped writing up tickets because they can't tell whether somebody's playing Angry Birds, which is legal, chasing Pokemon, which is legal, cruising the internet, which is legal, or engaging in illegal activity. and they've gotten so frustrated they've stopped writing this up. I would submit that the distracted driving standard, while better, doesn't really still get around that problem, because you can still have a phone in your hand and be using it, and it can be debatable whether or not you're distracted or not. Hands-free is a better way to go. But we need something that's enforceable. I think this standard, hands-free, it's better. I know some people have expressed concern about racial profiling. I think that's a much easier standard to meet, because it's a lot easier to argue about whether the phone is in your hand or not. It's easier to corroborate that, whether the witnesses. It's easier for somebody to see. This is not a slippery slope to criminalizing putting your makeup on in the car or changing the radio in the car or some of the other things that people might bring up. It's not. This has been studied extensively. There's been study after study. The first seminal study on this was out of Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech found that the average text message, they looked at thousands and thousands and millions of miles of driving behavior logged. They found the average text message takes somebody's eyes off the road for 4 seconds on average. And at 88 miles an hour, that's pretty much the length from one goalpost to another on a football field with your eyes closed. You want to know why people run into other people without braking at 55 miles an hour at 1,000 feet of clear straight road? It's because of texting while driving. They found that this type of distraction is just as dangerous as drunk driving. It's a different nature and quality of type of distraction than the other things, which I don't think we should be writing statutes about. But this, we definitely need to do something. And I also just think it's easier for people to understand. It's easier for our constituents to understand where the line is if we go this route. Now, the last thing I'll say about why we need to do this, accidents and deaths in the United States of America and in the Commonwealth are up over the last 2 years for the first time in 50 years. When we looked at collisions and deaths back in the 80s, it was all about alcohol-related driving. Alcohol-related incidents and deaths are down in the United States, and they've been down over the last 2 or 3 years. But deaths and accidents are up for the first time in 50 years. And I would submit, ask yourself why that is. It's an easy to understand. If you're driving down the interstate, look to your left, you look to your right, there's probably about a 50-50 chance the person next to you has their phone in their hand and they're staring at it. People are distracted, and we need to do something about it. And that's why we need to adopt the floor substitute. I renew my motion that we do so.
Thank the Senator. Does the Senator from Rockingham want to be heard prior to the vote?
I do.
The Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, speaking to the floor substitute offered by the gentleman from Eastern Fairfax, I commend the gentleman for his concerns. I think some of those concerns are well-founded. And I'll tell you, I think that virtually all of us have a story to tell. And I would just simply respectfully submit that this is the wrong way to get at those stories. My story is I had a young family who was traveling east on Route 33 going outside of Harrisonburg, and they were driving in a small little Nissan Sentra, mom and dad and 2-year-old in the back seat. Mom was 22 years old, dad was 23 years old, and a young woman texting was driving on an intersecting road in a Ford Explorer going 55 miles per hour, and she T-boned that little Nissan Sentra, killed dad. Mom was in University of Virginia Medical Center for 3 months, and miraculously the baby was in a car seat and survived in pretty good shape. What I will tell you is that I'm highly sympathetic to the cause that is articulated by the gentleman from Eastern Fairfax. However, I don't think that this solves it. I don't think that this makes Virginians safer. I think that we need to get to the other bill, the other substitute, in order to really make a meaningful difference. And I want to point out a couple of things, and quite frankly, I can't do it without talking about both of these a little bit. So I'm going to do that, and I hope I'll get a little bit of latitude in doing so. But this floor substitute is incredibly broad, and it prohibits using any handheld personal communication device. It prohibits using it while you're operating a vehicle at all. It does say, as the gentleman points out, that you can use GPS if it's mounted to the vehicle. But I'm telling you, when that phone buzzes and simply pushing that button to see if indeed it was Greg Habib who sent me a text, without even reading the text, that's a violation. Looking at the time on there, 1:51 p.m., that's a violation. If you have your GPS data punched in and you do not have a device that affixes your phone to your windshield, but you have it sitting on the in the middle of your or on your console, that's a violation of this. And I simply suggest that if we pass this, it will be the most violated law on the books that exists. I respectfully submit that it really does undermine respect for the rule of law. I think that the other substitute that we will get to next addresses it in a way that I've never been willing to vote for. I've voted against these, notwithstanding my tremendous sympathy for the cause and trying to and desire to address this situation. The underlying substitute, the other substitute, deals with substantially distracted driving, which does not allow a police officer to pull you over if they see you push the button to look at the time and throw the phone back down. If you don't display any signs of reckless driving, they can't pull you over. But let me tell you, the gentleman is quite right. We need something to put some teeth in our law to make sure that there is a way for really reckless drivers, people who cause crashes, who kill people as a result of their reckless use of their cell phone, to be prosecuted for that. And this does that. Distracted driving under the underlying, the other substitute, is a primary offense. It allows somebody to be charged or pulled over, and if you cause a crash that kills somebody, it will permit you to be charged with manslaughter as a result. It covers text. It covers phone calls. It covers a situation in which you cause a crash and hurt or kill somebody, in which you're typing in the address into your GPS. If your phone is not well, it would cover that no matter what. I would respectfully submit that that is an elegant solution to a really difficult problem. It used to be that when I got down here 15 years ago, that we really did pay attention to trying to make sure that we didn't give opportunities for law enforcement to pull somebody over just because they didn't like what they looked like, This is a bill. The other substitute is a version of it that requires something that's really actually criminal, something that actually evidences some disregard for the safety of others before officers are given an opportunity to pull somebody over. They can't pull them over just because they don't like the car that they're driving or what they look like or their race or gender. I would respectfully submit it is a good solution, and I would ask that the body reject the gentleman from Eastern Fairfax's noble effort.
Thank the Senator. For what purpose does the Senator from Southern Fairfax? Senator Barker rise.
Mr. President, I rise to speak to the motion on the substitute.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I've been involved in this issue for many years. I actually started carrying legislation dealing with the texting while driving issue shortly after arriving in the Senate in 2008, and was pleased to be supportive of the with my bill being folded into the bill from the senator from James City County in 2012 that made a significant change in that, improved that provision that we have in the code now. However, there clearly have been issues related to the effectiveness of what is in the code right now, and certainly the senator from Eastern Fairfax is correct in terms of some of the problems related to enforcement. There are a number of localities that have actually been quite successful in getting summonses and getting agreements on situations in which someone has been texting while driving, but not all have been successful, and there clearly is not quite the bright line that he referred to as it relates to whether or not you have a phone in your hand. I think one of the significant advantages of this particular substitute is that it would clarify that and would make it very clear whether someone had a communication device in his or her hand and make it much more effective in terms of enforcement, and I think would in the end make the roads of the Commonwealth much safer to drive as a result, and I hope it'd be the pleasure of the body to approve this substitute.
Thank the Senator. For what purpose is Senator from Arlington? Senator Favola rise.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to ask the patron of the substitute, the senator from Eastern Fairfax, if he would yield for a question.
Will Senator yield?
Sure.
Senator yields. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to make sure I completely understand how this would be applied. On line 18, it says communications device is specifically designed and configured. If you have a regular iPhone and you have a speaker option and you have the iPhone mounted, would having the speaker option on your phone, and would that be considered specifically designed and configured? I just want to fully understand how somebody would interpret this.
Senator has the floor.
What I would say to the senator from Arlington is that, yes, that would work as long as you use the phone in a hands-free mode. So, for example, you said, Siri, call home, Siri, call, my husband, etc. As long as it's in hands-free mode, you're fine.
Okay. I hope we can further define that. Thank you.
Thank the Senator. For what purpose is the senior senator from Virginia Beach? Senator Wagner rise.
Speaking to the floor amendment.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It gets me a little nervous when I realize some of the proponents of this, but there isn't a single time I drive up and down 64 coming back and forth to Richmond where I don't see somebody either doing 35 or 40 miles an hour. Left lane or right lane, it doesn't matter. When I pass them, and I do, they're on their phone. They're not paying a single attention to the highway. They're either texting. I don't know what's so urgent that they have to text or respond to, but they're on their phone. Then when I'm driving, I'll see the old left to right lane. Come on in my lane for a little bit. Oh, yeah, look up, pull back over, maybe give them a little toot on the horn to remind them. Go past them, they're on their phone. They're not paying attention. Over and over and over again, it happens. And Mr. President, it's just dangerous. It's just flat dangerous out there. And there's not a time I'm not on a highway where I don't see it for any length of time where I don't see it. And I don't think there's anyone in this room that can say any different when they're driving down the highway. Haven't seen this go on and on and on and on. I've watched rear-end accidents where you see somebody at the red light and you go, I can't believe that person's not stopping, and boom, there it happens. Why? They're on their phone. They're looking. I think it's time. How many more people got to die? How many more accidents? I mean, we talk about these things all the time, and believe me, I've been an opponent of this many, many times. But Mr. President, there comes a time when there's enough carnage that I think it's time that we move, and I think it's the appropriate step. So I intend to support the floor amendment.
Thank the Senator. For what purpose is the Senator from Western Fairfax? Senator Marsden rise.
Speak in favor of the floor amendment.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. While the gentleman from Rockingham, I think, makes good points in terms of enforcement, and
I need to, Mr. President.
But I believe that the
I need a point of personal. Which floor amendment are we currently talking about?
Senator, we're parliamentary inquiry. It's the floor substitute from Senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Surabel.
Surabel's floor amendment. Thank you. Excuse me, Senator.
Floor substitute.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you. While I believe that the senator from Rockingham makes some good points about some of the enforcement difficulties, what we're really trying to do here is change behavior. And if there are reasons that you can pick up a phone that are legal, you're likely to do that, and it's likely to become no big deal. If you just can't touch it, except when it's mounted on the dash or the windshield, I think the message gets through. It's changing behavior. It's changing our habits that's important here that will save lives, not trying to fool around with how it's going to be enforced and how you interpret when somebody has it legally in their hands and not I think that it's important that we pass this floor substitute. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the senator. For what purpose the senator from Lynchburg, Senator Peake, rise?
Mr. President, you'd already got me when I asked the question. Excuse, thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Question is, shall the floor substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. No. The ayes have it. The floor substitute is agreed to. Yeah.
Mr. President.
For what purpose? Okay. Senator Obenshain's floor substitute is now out of order. What purpose, Senator from
I had
Fairfax?
temporarily withdrawn my floor substitute. Could that go by temporarily so I can have my my floor amendments drawn to the newly adopted substitute?
Yeah. Really? Without objection, your floor amendments can go by temporarily.
House Bill 1336, a bill relating to spoliation of evidence, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with substitute. And there is a floor substitute.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, in order that we can get to the floor substitute, I move that the committee substitute be approved with the recommendation that we reject it.
Thank the senator. With the recommendation that it be rejected, the question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The noes have it. The committee substitute is rejected.
Senator from Fairfax City.
Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the floor substitute and speak to that motion.
Senator has the floor. Actually, you said I want to waive the reading?
Waive the reading. Move to waive the reading.
Question is, shall the reading of the floor substitute be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading is waived. Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, this is Senate Bill 1336, which is all you ever wanted to know about spoliation. You know, one of the things I really enjoy about coming down here is how much I learn. And, you know, I've been practicing law for a little bit. I've tried a few cases, and, you know, I thought I knew everything. And I was in the Courts of Justice Committee, and one of the things I learned in the Courts of Justice Committee is how Rule 37 of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure is a shield, a bulletproof shield against anti-business activities. And I at the time, I did not appreciate it. But once I heard from law professors and lobbyists and other people representing the business community, I suddenly realized how important Rule 37 was. And we don't actually have it adopted in Virginia. Instead, we have what was essentially the common law standard, which we all thought was adequate until the Supreme Court told us otherwise a couple months ago. So I sort of had an epiphany a couple days ago, and I decided, you know what we probably ought to have in the Virginia Code is Rule 37. So I took the language from the federal rules and I made it part of the floor substitute. And basically it speaks for itself. It talks about where you are a party or potential litigant, that you have a duty to preserve evidence that is relevant to reasonably foreseeable litigation. And then you have to take certain steps to preserve that litigation, which is exactly what happens under the federal rules. And if you don't preserve that evidence, then you can be held responsible for it. But it has a very measured tone. It has a set of fairly well-defined characteristics. And the bottom line is, I think it's something we all can work with as practitioners. And those of us that are not practitioners, if you're sitting in a jury box, I think it gives you an instruction you could understand. So the bottom line is, I have learned on this issue to love Rule 37, and therefore I'm bringing it forward as a floor substitute for the spoliation bill. Thank you.
Thank the senator. For what purpose does the senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards, rise?
Mr. President, I rise in support of the floor substitute amendment.
Substitute? Senator?
Floor substitute.
Senator has the floor.
That the senator from Fairfax City is put on the floor. Mr. President, I've litigated spoliation on a number of occasions, but over the weekend I had occasion to go back and look at Rule 37 of the federal rules. That was only adopted just 2015, just a few years ago. And it went through a lot of revisions, a lot of discussion, a lot of on the part of a lot of parties, and finally the federal Supreme Court adopted Rule 37 of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure. This is the way it ought to be. It's not a license to destroy evidence under the theory that you're not going to catch them doing it, which is the problem with the current Supreme Court decision, but rather is a very balanced approach. And again, I can spend a lot of time talking about it, although it's a complicated area, and I doubt anybody wants to hear an hour-long lecture or any more discussion on this. But I urge the body, if you want to look at Rule 37 of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, do. Again, it's fairly new, this provision, I think only 3 years ago. But I think the Federal Rules got it right. And I commend the Senator from Fairfax City for putting this floor amendment on. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the Senator. For what purpose does the senior senator from Chesapeake, Senator Cosgrove, rise?
To unfortunately speak a little bit to the substitute.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. It always gets me a little nervous, and all the lawyers start going like this. Because not being a lawyer, I'm kind of going, what are they up to? Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, there's been a lot of people talking about this bill. In fact, not being an engineer, not being an attorney, when they said spoliation, I thought they said exfoliation. They were talking about loofahs and pumice stones. But I would like for this to actually we're not attorneys, have an opportunity to look at this and actually find out exactly what this substitute does. So if the substitute does pass, Mr. President, I'm going to ask it to go by for the day.
Thank you, Senator. For what purpose does the Senator from Lynchburg, Senator Peake, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to speak to the floor substitute.
Senator has the floor.
And to the issue in general. Mr. President, well, we've been talking about spoliation for several weeks now since the House bill first hit. And the origination for that House bill was a recent Supreme Court decision in which we were told that the Virginia common law was clear and unequivocal, and that the Supreme Court had somehow botched the decision on spoliation, which was clear and unequivocal. And I submit to the body that the common law on spoliation was not that clear and unequivocal, so that one of our retired Supreme Court justices would make a ruling that completely contradicted what the common law was, and that the remaining other justices would join unanimously in that opinion. I submit to the body that this issue is highly complicated and highly complex, and we've been debating the bill that we had from the House for the past 2 weeks, and then to join the senator from Chesapeake, senior senator from Chesapeake, we are today given a bill that is completely different with what we had, and is, according to the senator from Fairfax, and I have no doubt that he's telling us that, as being honest, that this is the adoption of the federal rule, which was adopted in 2015. So we have heard nothing about how the federal rule 37, which was adopted in 2015, has worked in practice. In the Commonwealth, we have a method to determine these types of, this is actually a jury instruction. We have in a committee on jury instructions, we have a Boyd Graves conference where scholars, where judges, where litigators get together and discuss these issues, and they discuss them for a long amount of time before they make a recommendation to us. And here we have many non-lawyers, as the senator from Chesapeake said, who are being presented with a bill and asked to vote on it after having looked at it for 10 minutes. That is not how the law in the Commonwealth should be made, and I would ask that we reject the substitute and that we reject the bill, that the whole issue be sent to Boyd Graves after a year of study, and we come back and address it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the senator. For what purpose does the senator from Russell, Senator Chafin, rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a great deal of respect for the gentleman from Fairfax City, But I think what we're seeing here today is, first of all, we got in a big rush with the original bill. Just in December, the Supreme Court came out with that decision just around Christmas time, and there's been very little time to consider how that particular case, will really play into litigation issues. It was a narrow issue in that case in the first place, and could easily be defined in other cases. And so the reason I think that we're doing something here in such a rush is to try to push something through that probably a particular group of lawyers like. But as I associate my comments with the gentleman who just previously spoke, and I will tell you that the Boyd Graves Conference has lawyers from all walks, scholars, true scholars that have studied the law, that have worked in the law, that have many years of experience, and that is where something that is this bold, this new, should really go to be studied. That is where it should go, and so I'm afraid that we're taking a bad situation and making it worse here with a substitute just seen by everybody here 10 minutes ago, just being considered in this body at this time. And a wise man that I once knew, one of his favorite adages, one of his favorite sayings was, you should always measure twice but cut once. And truly, this is a situation where that adage applies. We should be very careful what we do here in the Commonwealth that has such far-reaching ramifications for something that's just weeks old right now, the decision just weeks old. So I again would ask that we defeat the substitute and ultimately the underlying bill. This ought to go to the Boyd Graves Conference.
Thank the senator. For what purpose the senator from Eastern Fairfax? Senator Surville rise.
Speaking to the bill.
Senator.
I'm sorry, speaking to the substitute.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I've carried a couple bills in the Boyd Graves Conference, and it seems like every one I've carried has died. So I'm not sure if that says something about me or something about Boyd Graves, but there are quite a few smart lawyers on there, but they don't always seem to have the pulse of the legislature down. And so I'm not convinced that necessarily is the path to success here. The way I see this, the Supreme Court pulled a rabbit out of a hat here that nobody saw coming, and they interposed a extremely strict standard when it comes to spoliation. The Supreme Court's ruling says that you must show intentional destruction of records. You have to show intent before you can get that spoliation instruction. That is a very high, very rigid, very hard to meet standard. And that isn't what the common law was, what everybody thought it was for the last 400 years. What the underlying bill, not the substitute, the underlying bill did was take that all the way down to negligence pretty much, which is a much lower standard. And what the substitute does is goes right in the middle and says not only will intent suffice, but it also says that if the court finds that somebody did not take reasonable steps to preserve evidence after having been put on notice. And what that does is it gives our court discretion on how to deal with this. And that's how we tend to do. We tend to trust our judges. We spend a lot of time vetting these folks and making sure they got the right experience and judgment. And then we pick them and we give them discretion to decide what to do. We don't often give them rigid standards, which is what the Supreme Court did. And this bill, the substitute, is a nice compromise. And if anybody thinks that it hasn't been vetted enough, I can tell you that when the United States Supreme Court adopts a rule change, it's vetted across the entire country, across the entire United States of America. And if anybody's, at least on the other side, is concerned about the political orientation of the United States Supreme Court, you shouldn't be, at least from your side, I would think. I think most people regard the United States Supreme Court as being a pretty business-friendly place nowadays. And they're the ones that wrote the standard that the senator from the city of Fairfax is asking us to adopt with this substitute to get this bill into conference to see if we can come up with a Virginia solution to this. So I think this substitute is the way to go. It's a measured way to go. and I think it'll keep this process going, because we do need to do something instead of having a year where we have this unduly restrictive standard out there for people to deal with.
Senator, for what purpose? The senator from James City County, Senator Norman Rise.
Mr. President, I respectfully move the pending question on the floor substitute.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the pending question be ordered? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 21, noes 19.
Ayes 21, noes 19. The pending question has been ordered. Question is, shall the floor substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. No. The noes have it. Floor substitute. Seeing at least 8 hands, we'll have a recorded vote. All in favor of agreeing to the motion to adopt the floor substitute will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 14, noes 26.
Ayes 14, noes 26. Floor substitute is rejected. Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I would, at this point, given the posture, I believe that those are all the floor substitutes and amendments. At this point, I would respectfully move to recommit this to the Courts of Justice Committee, and I would like to speak to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Just a moment. Well, let me just tell you a couple of things. Senator from Eastern Fairfax was telling stories a minute ago. Let me tell you a couple of quick stories. All right, last year, I worked on a case in which there was a 42-year-old with severe developmental disabilities. He was working in a facility that had video surveillance. He had a severe, convulsive, and continuous seizure that went on for 25 minutes before anybody called 911, and there was a significant question about whether anybody came to his aid. There was no question that there was a video network in the building. Yet when that case went into litigation, the video had disappeared. It was gone, could not be found. There's no question, given the circumstances, and by the way, that 42-year-old died as a result of the seizure that he had. By the time the rescue squad arrived on the scene, he was in full cardiac arrest, could not be resuscitated, and died on his way to the hospital. Another case that actually was talking to a lawyer about on Friday. I was talking about a case I was working on, and this lawyer said I was following, and this is a defense lawyer, business lawyer, said I was following the debate on spoliation. He said, last year, I had this dangest case in which somebody fell at a chain restaurant, and large national chain, and that person had severe injuries. So we knew immediately that there was going to be litigation. That restaurant knew immediately that there was going to be litigation. And that restaurant had a video feed. And that restaurant took the video, and it took one copy of it, and the manager put a copy of it in his desk drawer. And the other copy was sent to the insurance company for that chain restaurant. And by the time litigation was initiated and discovery requests were sent, neither one of those copies of that video could be located. And during the course of the fall last year, that case was in negotiations. And that lawyer said, holy smokes, I knew that we were in trouble because nobody could explain that incredible coincidence of both of those copies of that videotape disappearing. And we knew that the court was going to tell the jury that they can infer, not presume, but they can conclude that that evidence might have been unfavorable to the restaurant. What do you think? I mean, both copies disappear. And during the course of negotiations, that Supreme Court decision came down. And the lawyer said, holy smokes, it saved us hundreds of thousands of dollars because we knew that they could not prove that it was intentionally destroyed. Now, I understand that there have been a lot of business lobbyists and insurance lobbyists walking across the building. And for the most part, we know these businesses. They are good businesses with good reputations. They are not the kinds of people who are destroying evidence, who are engaged in this kind of behavior. But when I asked every single one of them, don't you agree that there is at some point when there's litigation likely, at some point there's a duty to preserve evidence? And every single one of them says absolutely yes. Now, you can lose evidence in three ways. One is through no fault of your own. Your hard drive crashes. Nobody is going to hold that against you. Nobody. Second is negligence. You don't do anything, even though you know litigation's coming, you fail to do anything to preserve it, even though you've got a duty to preserve it. And under this Supreme Court decision that was out, the courts have no power whatsoever to do anything under that to address the negligent destruction of evidence. And third is intentional. Now, I'm going to ask that this go back to committee. But I want you to know, Boyd Graves Conference ain't going to do anything. It's a bunch of half defense lawyers, half plaintiffs lawyers. They are not going to develop a consensus on this. There's no way on God's green earth. And we're going to have a discussion about this because the status quo cannot stand. It needs to be addressed. And if there are instances over the course of the next year in which evidence is disappearing and courts are unable to do anything about it, I would respectfully submit we've got a duty to do something about it. We cannot allow a party in civil litigation to profit by destroying evidence. It just undermines the rule of law and our civil justice system. So with that, Mr. President, I would ask that this be re-referred to the Committee on Courts of Justice.
Thank the Senator. For what purpose the Senator from James City County? Senator Norman rise.
Mr. President, I rise in merciful support to send this back to the Courts Committee.
Thank the Senator. Question is, shall the bill be recommitted to the Committee for the Courts of Justice? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is recommitted to the Committee on the Courts of Justice.
House Bill 1041, a bill relating to the Virginia Property Owners Association Act, lot owner rights, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology with amendment.
Senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff.
Mr. Chairman, can that go by for the day? Thank you.
Without objection, House Bill 1041 will go by for the day.
House Bill 1233, a bill relating to voluntary apprenticeships, ratio of apprentices to journeymen, reported from the Committee for Commerce and Labor.
Senior Senator from Virginia Beach, Senator Wagner.
Mr. President, cannot go by for the day.
Without objection, House Bill 1233 will go by for the day.
House Bill 1533, a bill relating to the Virginia Property Owners Association Act, applicability, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology.
Senator from Mecklenburg, Senator Ruff.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the bill pass, and I yield to the Senator from Southern Fairfax.
Senator from Southern Fairfax, Senator Barker.
Mr. President, speaking to the measure.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I rise in support of this particular piece of legislation. It's designed to ensure that one particular homeowners association in Fairfax County is able to continue to operate as they have for many years. This is a development that occurs in the eastern part of Fairfax County, it's a development surrounding a lake. It's been in existence since the 1950s and has been operating with a homeowners association, a Virginia Property Owners Association, since that time. When some of the provisions regarding the Virginia Property Owners Association Act were put into place long after this homeowners association began operation, the homeowners association assumed that it was legal and complicit with things and did not take any other action, and has continued to operate for the last 20-some years since that Property Owners Association Act took effect there. A recent court decision, however, has raised at least some question as to the legality of things. The deeds that have been in place for in most situations over half a century are very similar and are in terms of their effect, but are not in every case word for word as they were prior to the adoption of the Virginia Property Owners Act. What this does is it would allow, make sure that they could continue to operate as long as the deed for each lot is substantially similar in terms of deed restrictions and shall be declared a declaration under this chapter. With that, specifically limited in terms of an urban county executive form of government, which is Fairfax County, for a development with containing more than 500 lots, each lot of which is located in the boundaries of a watershed improvement district. So it makes it very specific and does not broad in application. I'd hope it'd be the pleasure of the body to approve this provision.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 1533? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1533 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 20, noes 20.
Ayes 20, noes 20. The chair votes aye. The bill passes. Hey, Ryan, where are my keys?
House Bill 214, a bill relating to overweight permits for hauling Virginia-grown farm produce, bridges, and culverts. Reported from the Committee on Transportation with an amendment and from the Committee on Finance with an amendment.
Senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico.
Mr. President, I ask that we reject the Transportation Committee amendment.
Thank the senator. With the recommendation that it be rejected, the question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The noes have it. The committee amendment is rejected. The senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Mr. President, I would move that the Finance Committee amendment be agreed to, but after its adoption, I would yield to the senator from Grayson.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is adopted. Senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would ask that we pass the bill and speak into that bill as amended.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, this bill is dealing with agricultural products that are being allowed to haul 90,000 pounds. The amendment that came from the Transportation Committee was that the axle spacing be 34 feet. After consulting with VDOT and the impact that it had at 34 feet, we came up with a 45-foot axle spacing that wouldn't have an impact on the current bridges and roads that we currently allow 90,000 pounds, and I hope it'd be the pleasure of the body to pass the bill as it has been amended to have a 45-foot axle spacing, allowing agricultural products to be hauled at 90,000 pounds.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 214? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 214 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. House Bill 214 passes.
House Bill 220, a bill relating to local parks, waterway activities liability, reported from the Committee on Local Government with a substitute.
Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move
There's a floor substitute.
Never mind.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that for purposes of getting to the floor amendment that I move the committee substitute and ask that it be rejected.
Thank you, Senator. With the
I check that, Mr. President. I move that the committee substitute be agreed to.
Really quickly, if we want to get to the floor substitute, then the committee substitute would need to be rejected. Do we want to get to the floor substitute?
Yeah, I move the committee substitute with the recommendation that it be rejected.
With the recommendation that it be rejected, the question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no.
No.
Noes have it. The committee substitute is rejected. Senator from Western Fairfax, Senator Marsden.
Thank you, Mr. President. What we're trying to do here is get the best of two worlds. This bill has come to us from gentlemen from southwestern Virginia.
Before we proceed, I'm sorry to interrupt. You want to waive the reading?
Oh, excuse me. Move that we waive the reading of the substitute, the floor substitute.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the reading of the floor substitute be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor substitute is waived. Senator from Western Fairfax, Senator Marsden.
Thank you, Mr. President. Exciting news from Southwest Virginia is they're establishing a park authority where they have specifically mandated that a number of activities to be conducted there would receive immunity, such as tubing, kayaking, hiking, biking, horseback riding, things of this nature. We passed a bill out of here earlier, a bill of mine, that created a greater immunity for park authorities consistent with two circuit court rulings in Fairfax County. It passed out of here 37-3. Unfortunately, it took the hard road into courts over in the House. However, this bill took a lighter path through county, cities, and towns and over to local government. And what this substitute does is it overlays the my bill, which creates greater, broader immunity that would go beyond just the specified activities in the Southwest Virginia Park Authority. And what this means is that if the Park Authority in Southwest Virginia were to come up with some new activities, such as badminton or volleyball or whatever, is they would now be covered. You wouldn't have to come back to the General Assembly to add more specifics to it. It just provides the very general immunity for park authorities that's consistent with the court rulings, and it's been the policy for the past 2 years in the Senate that we agree with the broader immunity that park authorities are to have, and so this would just draw in the Southwest new park authority into that. It works, I think, for everybody, and it does no harm to the bill and actually gives it greater strength. So I would ask, again, reiterate my motion that the bill pass.
Mr. President.
Thanks, Senator. For what purpose, Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain-Raj?
Could this bill go by for the day?
Without objection, House Bill 220 will go by for the day.
House Bill 345, a bill relating to the creation of the Special Assistant to the Governor for Coastal Adaptation and Protection, reported from the Committee on Finance with an amendment.
Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the committee amendment be agreed to.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is agreed to. Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President, can that bill go by for the day, please?
Without objection, House Bill 345 will go by for the day.
House Bill 640, a bill relating to comprehensive plan broadband infrastructure, reported for the Committee on Local Government with an amendment.
Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move that the committee amendment be agreed to.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is agreed to. Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Senate, I now move for passage of the House Bill 640 and speaking to that.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you. Mr. President, this bill comes from the House of Delegates, and quite frankly, it's a really, really good bill. What it says is that a locality's comprehensive plan must consider strategies to provide broadband infrastructure that is sufficient to meet the current and future needs of residents and businesses in the locality. And in the preparation of this comprehensive plan, broadband infrastructure shall be one of the things that they must include among the matters that the planning committee and planning commissions in those localities shall survey and study. So what we did, even in changing it, it was the language. It was permissive that it may include broadband. Quite frankly, if we're going to do comprehensive planning in our localities, and especially as we move through the technology age, we must be considering those broadband strategies as a part of any comprehensive plan in the locality. And for those reasons, Mr. President, I renew my motion that we pass this very good bill, House Bill 640.
Thank you, Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 640? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 640 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, no 0, Rule 36-2.
Ayes 38, no 0. Rule 36-2, House Bill 640 passes.
House Bill 669, a bill to authorize the Department of Conservation and Recreation to accept certain property on Natural Tunnel Parkway in Scott County. Reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with an amendment and from the Committee on Finance.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I move that we adopt the Court's amendment.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is adopted. Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I move that the bill pass. This is simply a conveyance bill authorizing the state, the Department of Conservation and Recreation, to accept property conveyed to it by Scott County.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 669? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 669 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
House Bill 796, a bill relating to zoning disabilities, reported from the Committee on Local Government with a substitute.
Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the committee substitute be agreed to first.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to. Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move House Bill 796's passage and speaking to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Senate, House Bill 796 comes from the House.
Where did it come from?
The House. And it requires, when we have zoning variances that are needed for those that may have disabilities, so it requires that locality to give due consideration to the needs for modifications or accommodations in accordance with the Federal Americans with Disabilities Act that are necessary to accommodate persons with disabilities when preparing a zoning ordinance. It alters the standard by which a variance shall be granted by adding the phrasing, including safe and easy use thereof by the person seeking the variance with regard to the property. And quite frankly, Mr. President, the variance may last only as long as the person who asked for the variance, and that was part of the substitute that we had in the Senate, the variance would last as long as the person who sought the variance needed it, and that variance could expire if that person no longer was there or needed it on the property in question. So for those reasons, Mr. President, I now move this House Bill 796 pass.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is the senior senator from Chesapeake, Senator Cosgrove, rise?
Mr. President, I hate to ask this, but I didn't understand the gentleman. Could he repeat that? Never mind.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 796? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 796 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. House Bill 796 passes.
House Bill 934, a bill relating to medical and mental health treatment of prisoners incapable of giving consent. Reported from the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services with amendments and from the Committee on Finance with a sub.
Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move the committee amendments.
Does the senator want to reject the committee amendments from Rehab and Social Services? In order to take up the finance,
Mr. President. Yes, with the recommendation that we reject, I would now move the committee amendments.
Thank the senator. With the recommendation that they be rejected, the question is, shall the committee amendments from Rehabilitation and Social Services be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The noes have it. The committee amendments are rejected. Senator from Augusta, Senator Hager.
Mr. President, I move that the Finance Committee substitute be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to.
Mr. President.
Senator from Augusta, Senator Hager.
I move the bill pass and speak to that.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill, with the substitute, establishes a process whereby a sheriff or a regional jail administrator can petition the court for an order authorizing treatment for a prisoner that on the basis of clear and convincing evidence is incapable or either mentally or physically of giving informed consent. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 934? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 934 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. House Bill 934 passes.
House Bill 1154, a bill relating to Virginia Coalfields Expressway Authority powers and duties grants. Reported from the Committee on Local Government.
Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. As my voice finally runs out here, I now move that House Bill 1154 pass. And speaking to that,
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, best way to describe this is if you want this, I'll stop talking if you'll just vote on the bill, because I don't think anybody wants to hear me. This is horrible. A lot of sympathy in here, I see. Mr. President, we have this thing called the Coalfields Expressway Authority. It's been established by the code. It is to its stated purpose is to do the planning and create partnerships for establishing the development of the Coalfields Expressway out in Southwest Virginia. What this bill basically does is allow that Coalfield Expressway Authority the ability to apply for and accept gifts, grants of money, loans or other property or other financial assistance from the United States of America and agencies or instrumentalities of it, or of the Commonwealth or any other person or entity for the aid of carrying out its stated purpose. And so it just gives the empowerment of the authority to accept money to actually build the road. So for those reasons, Mr. President, I renew my motion that HB 1154 pass.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 1154? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1154 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 1.
Ayes 39, noes 1. House Bill 1154 passes.
House Bill 1183, a bill relating to the City of Hampton volunteer property maintenance and zoning inspectors, reported from the Committee on Local Government.
Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that House Bill 1183 pass, and speaking to that.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Currently, the City of Hampton has an average of 20,000 violations per year based on 2014-2017 numbers, and more than their current workforce can even handle. So, and when we talk about these kind of violations, they're property maintenance and zoning violations. So Hampton, unfortunately, is not able to add to their workforce for that specific item, and at this time, due to budgetary constraints, HB 1183 would allow for Hampton to be included among the cities in the Commonwealth of Virginia that can utilize trained, supervised, qualified volunteers to issue notices of noncompliance with zoning ordinances relating to external maintenance of property or local zoning ordinances relating to motor vehicles or trailers. Hampton is poised and ready to train the volunteers that have already expressed an interest in this type of program, and they have discussed best practices with the other cities that have already implemented these type of volunteer programs. HB 1183, ladies and gentlemen, would help the city of Hampton accomplish its workload in the most cost-effective manner. So for those reasons, I didn't write it. It was given to me. For those reasons, I would ask that HB 1183 for the city of Hampton, ladies and gentlemen, pass.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 1183? Seeing none, question is, shall House Bill 1183 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 1.
Ayes 39, noes 1. House Bill 1183 passes.
House Bill 1241, a bill relating to car washing fundraisers, biodegradable cleaners, reported from the Committee on Local Government.
Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Madam Clerk, for the Ricola. It's quite delicious. And so I now move that House Bill 1241 pass. Let me see if it's lower. I can do it this way. I now move that House Bill 1241 pass, and speaking to the motion.
Senator has the floor.
Is that better, Mr. President?
No.
Okay.
We keep going.
God. This is my moneymaker right here. I'm missing it. Coming from a guy like you? Oh, my goodness. Mr. President. When the senator from Grayson tells you he doesn't say bad things, he's lying. All right, Mr. President, House Bill 1241, I would move that it pass, and speaking to the motion, please.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, you know, growing up, don't you ever remember that sometimes when you're trying to raise a little money for your organization, whether it be Little League or cheerleading or your sports teams or something like that, you'd always go down to the local garage and you'd hold a car wash. And so, you know, for years that was just a tradition and a way of raising money for your localities. And so you'd always try to support your local sports organization or whatever kind of club it was, and go down there and probably even get the worst car wash of your life. But you went there and you did that to support those young men and women who were trying to raise money for whatever cause. What we have right now are localities that are prohibiting car washing fundraisers. Yeah, right. First mulch, now car washes. This is un-American. And if my voice was stronger, so would be my determination to make sure that we're going to take care of these things. And so what this bill says is basically that you cannot ban car washing fundraisers fundraisers that used biodegradable phosphate-free water-based cleaners, nor shall any permit issued pursuant to the state water control law prohibit the discharge of that non-commercial fundraising activity wash waters from municipal separate storm water sewer systems. So there you go. When you go back to your constituents this year and you can tell them that they have the freedom to mulch, that perhaps the senator from the city of Fairfax, when the next fundraiser that his wife gets him involved with, won't be mulch. He'll be able to go back to car washing. So for those reasons, Mr. President, I now renew that HB 1241 pass, and the senator from Grayson can now return to his seat.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is the senator from Eastern Fairfax? Senator Servell wishes to rise.
Will the senator from Franklin County yield for a question?
Will the senator yield for a question?
Have you heard my voice? Yes.
Senator will yield. You have the floor.
I think it's a yes or no question. I just want to know if the gentleman had checked with the patron of the bill and asked him whether he was trying to. He was just trying to help out his friends in Arlington to allow them to have their biodegradable car washes anymore in Arlington in light of his other Arlington legislation.
Mr. President, I'd answer the gentleman by saying I have no idea, but I can tell you that Arlington was seriously a subject for all of us in that local government meeting when this stuff came up. So I would assume that the answer would be yes.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is the senior senator from Chesapeake, Senator Cosgrove, rise?
Will the gentleman from Franklin yield for a question?
Will the senator yield for a question?
Y'all are going to pay for this, I swear. Yes, I will yield.
Very briefly, thank you, Mr. President. Very briefly, I remember some sort of legislation carried by a former member of this body dealing with balloons and plastic bags. Would this fall into that category, under your opinion?
Mr. President, I'd answer the gentleman by saying at one moment in my political career, I got the ability and the honor to sit next to a gentleman from Virginia Beach who seemed more obsessed with banning balloons that had helium in them for the purposes of just because he wanted to make sure kids did not have fun. And then he had the bag banning thing, which he had some reason for. This is actually putting back into America what America is all about. Instead of taking out the fun, like Senator McWaters would do with the balloon ban, this is putting back in the fun.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 1241? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1241 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. House Bill 1241 passes.
House Bill 1257, a bill relating to sanctuary policies, reported from the Committee on Local Government with amendment.
Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
I know you missed me. Mr. President, based on the fact that my voice is not that strong right now, and I think this is one of those things where I might be standing and answering questions, I'm going to ask that House Bill 1257 go by for the day.
Without objection, House Bill 1257 will go by for the day.
House Bill 1262, a bill relating to the Department of General Services disposition of surplus motor vehicles, reported from the Committee on Finance with an amendment.
Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Finance Committee amendment be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is agreed to. Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill passed and speak to that.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Member of the Senate, this bill provides that the Department of General Services can permit surplus motor vehicles be donated to the Virginia Community College Educational Foundation prior to a public sale or auction. As most of you realize, we do have a process for disposing of these vehicles where they are auctioned off. The amendment that we just adopted is the financial contingency clause, so we can evaluate how much money potentially would be given away in this manner rather than placed in the general fund after sale of these vehicles. So I would move the bill pass.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 1262? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1262 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. House Bill 1262 passes.
House Bill 1333, a bill relating to kinship guardianship assistance program, reported from the Committee on Rehabilitation and Social Services with amendment and from the Committee on Finance.
Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move the committee amendments.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is adopted. Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would ask for passage of the bill now that the bill has the clause put on it. This just has to do with certain code sections in Kinnaman's Guardianship Assistant Program. It's very similar to the same bills that we heard already passed through the Senate, Mr. President. Ask the bill pass.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 1333? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1333 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
House Bill 1450, a bill relating to the BVU Authority, reported from the Committee on Local Government.
Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move the HB 1450 pass, and speaking to that.
Thank you, Senator. You have the floor.
It feels like that way all day today, sir. Basically, this piece of legislation authorizes the Bristol Valley Utility. Well, okay, the BVU. Bristol, Virginia Utility Authority, to execute, assign, or transfer property without implementing the provisions of the Virginia Public Procurement Act, any internal contract between the divisions of the authority that following such execution or assignment will be between the authority and the purchaser of the authority's assets. So basically, this empowers the BVU Authority to transfer property without being affected by the Virginia Public Procurement Act. And for those reasons, in this streamlined bill that allows them to move more quickly, I now move that the HB 1450 pass.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 1450? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1450 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, noes 2, Rule 36-2.
Ayes 36, noes 2, Rule 36-2.
House Bill 1500, a bill relating to the New River Valley Emergency Communications Regional Authority annual contributions, reported from the Committee on Local Government.
Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move that HB 1500 pass. And speaking to that,
thank the Senator. You have the floor.
I do, and now I realize why I'm standing up here today, as I realize, how did these not pass unanimously out of my committee in local government? And ladies and gentlemen, if you look at the bottom, you will see why. And her name is Senator Chase. So she just wants me to stand up here and talk about these things all day, because she enjoys me. The more I lose my voice, the more I can't talk the next day. Mr. President, HB 1500 concerns the New River Valley Emergency Communications Regional Authority. So what it allows that regional authority to do is to develop an allocation formula. That is a numerical formula to determine how each participating political subdivision will contribute and the amount that will be contributed to the authority's annual budget. So if the allocation formula is not approved by each participating political subdivision, then each subdivision shall contribute an amount that's equal to the authority's annual budget divided by the number of participating political subdivisions. So, Mr. President, I was never good at math, so I have no idea what that means. but I think that it's a way that everybody who's contributing to the emergency communication system in the New River Valley figures out how to pay for it and do so in a way that's fair and equitable to all of the county, cities, and towns that participate. And for those reasons, Mr. President, I now renew my motion that HB 1500 pass.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 1500? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1500 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senator desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 1.
Ayes 39, noes 1. House Bill 1500 passes.
Mr. President.
Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President.
Senator from Prince William, Senator McPike.
Mr. President, having voted on the prevailing side, which we passed House Bill 1450, and not to exercise the gentleman from Franklin's voice too much, I wish to reconsider the vote in which we passed that bill so that all members may vote correctly.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the vote by which House Bill 1450 passed be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 1.
Ayes 39, noes 1. Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. Having previously explained the bill, I now move that HB 1450 pass.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall House Bill 1450 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, noes 1. Rule 36-3.
Ayes 36, noes 1. Rule 36-3. House Bill 1450 passes.
House Bill 1504, a bill relating to virtual Virginia enrollment, reported from the Committee on Education and Health with an amendment, and from the Committee on Finance.
Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that the Education and Health Committee amendment be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is agreed to. Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move the bill pass and speak in the motion.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, when this bill came through Education and Health Committee, we made sure that the law is pretty much like it is now. It's stated as it came over from the House that the individual who is a homeschooler would not have to pay tuition for virtual education. That has been changed back. It appears that the only thing that changes in this legislation is that they can either go through the department here in Richmond or through the local school board. If they determine to go through the local school board, then as they always have in the past, they could be added in the ADM. I would hope we pass the bill.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 1504? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1504 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 22, noes 18.
Ayes 22, noes 18. House Bill 1504 passes.
House Bill 1560, a bill as it is currently effective of the Code of Virginia relating to Hampton Roads Area Authority board terms, reported from the Committee on Local Government.
Senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Promise this is it. Mr. President, I move that HB 1560 pass, and speaking to that motion,
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, when I first read this, I thought this allowed Hampton Roads to refuse collection. But then I realized it's refuse collection. This shows you what kind of education I got. So, Mr. President, what this does is it provides that a board member of the Hampton... I just got the look from the clerk. I'm sorry. No? Okay. From the Hampton Roads Area Refuse Collection and Disposal System Authority that's appointed directly by a member of the locality shall not be subject to term limits. Because once you get on the Hampton Roads Area Refuse Collection and Disposal System Authority, who would ever want to leave? So for those reasons, I move that House Bill 1560 pass.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is the senior senator from Chesapeake? Senator Cosgrove rise.
Just very briefly to further clarify the bill, Mr. President.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you. Basically, what this does is allows the city employee who is a member of that board appointed by their appropriate city council basically can continue. It's usually the city manager or the deputy city manager, and that's who this bill impacts. It's not just any board member. Thank you.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 1560? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1560 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote. Aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 1.
Ayes 39, noes 1. House Bill 1560 passes.
House Bill 1568, relating to Virginia Economic Development Partnership Authority and so forth, small business development programs. Reported for the Committee on Finance with a substitute.
Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the committee substitute be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to. Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill pass and speak to that.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate. As this bill came to us, it would have abolished the Department of Small Business and Supplier Diversity. We didn't want to agree to that, but what we did do was write a substitute, which you've just adopted, which transfers the administration of a couple of the grant programs to the Virginia Economic Development Partnership, and that's all it does. It just transfers the administration of a couple of the grant programs that were currently administered by the Small Business and Supplier Diversity Group to that VEDP. So I would hope that it would be the pleasure of the Senate to pass the bill.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 1568? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1568 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 24, noes 16.
Ayes 24, noes 16. House Bill 1568 passes.
House Bill 128, a bill relating to motion or petition for rule to show cause. Reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with a substitute.
Mr. President.
Senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Servo.
Can that bill go by for the day so I can get some clarification on it?
Without objection, House Bill 128 will go by for the day.
House Bill 589, a bill relating to institutions of higher education, diplomas, proof of education method. Reported from the Committee on Education and Health.
Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move the bill pass and speaking to the motion.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, the bill is fairly straightforward. It simply allows for a replacement diploma or a proof that you have had a diploma can be released in either an electronic or paper form. I would hope that we pass the bill.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 589? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 589 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 1.
Ayes 39, noes 1. House Bill 589 passes.
House Bill 661, a bill relating to first offense assault and battery against a family or household member, enhanced penalty. Reported from the Committee on Finance with a substitute.
Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move that Finance Committee substitute be agreed to, and after it's agreed to, I would yield to the senator from Rockingham.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to. Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I move that the bill pass. And speaking of the bill,
the floor.
Under current law, it is necessary for somebody to have 2 previous convictions in order to be eligible for a stepped-up penalty for a felony for assault and battery against a family member. This is rendered more difficult with the first offender status. So what this substitute does is it says that on your second conviction, it is a felony, with the understanding that anybody who is convicted a second time has almost certainly gone through the first offender status. So this is not the second time. It is in actuality the third time. So with that, I would renew the motion the bill pass.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 661? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 661 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 1.
Ayes 39, noes 1. House Bill 661 passes.
House Bill 741, a bill relating to the Virginia Division of Human Rights, informal determinations inadmissible in civil action. Reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I move that the bill pass. And speaking to that,
Senator has the floor.
This bill simply provides that in a civil cause of action, a preliminary determination by the Division of Human Rights in the Attorney General's office is not admissible. Concern is that they have very little investigatory process. They don't interview witnesses. All they do is look at the paper and make a determination. It is not a detailed determination. It's not one that is really something that should be relied upon, and the concern is that it's going to have a disproportionate impact in a court of law. So as a consequence, this makes the finding, the preliminary determination, inadmissible and not discoverable. The other materials, the subject of the investigation, are still discoverable.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 741? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 741 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 20, noes 20.
Ayes 20, noes 20. The chair votes no. The bill fails.
House Bill 886, a bill relating to admissions for mental health treatment toxicology. Reported from the Committee on Education and Health.
Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that the bill pass. And speaking to the motion.
The senator has the floor.
Mr. President, this bill is a fairly straightforward bill. It allows for a resolution when there's a difference of opinion between a referring physician and a receiving physician in a hospital, and it relates to the opportunity to acquire a third-party input about a clinical toxicologist when they're determining whether or not they have these products in their systems. No one that I know of was opposed. Both the hospitals and the physicians apparently agree with the measure. I hope that we will pass the bill.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 886? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 886 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. House Bill 886 passes.
House Bill 996, a bill relating to Department of Criminal Justice Services to review pretrial services agencies' report. Reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice.
Yes, Mr. President.
Senator from Lynchburg, Senator Peake.
You're speaking to the bill, Mr. President. I have a companion bill, Senate Bill 783, which passed out of here. This is regarding the Department of Criminal Justice Services and requiring pretrial services to make a report to DCJS. Currently, the statute says that pretrial services in various counties and localities shall provide a periodic report. And what we have found, and from DCJS, is that many of these pretrial services have made no reports in the past 15 years. Move that the bill pass. Yes. Is that, and speaking to the bill. Excuse me. Yes. And thank you very much. But this bill will require that pretrial services report annually to the General Assembly and to the governor to account for the amount of money they receive, the number of cases they handle, and how those cases have turned out. So I move the bill pass.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 996? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 996 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, noes 2.
Ayes 36, noes 2. House Bill 996 passes.
House Bill 1023, a bill relating to the issuance of foreign subpoenas. Clerk of Court. Reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I move that the bill pass. And speaking to this bill,
Press the floor.
This is a technical change in the manner in which subpoenas are issued under the Uniform Interstate Deposition and Discovery Act. Right now, it's ambiguous as to whether they're required to be issued by the clerk or by an attorney. In Virginia, we have a process by which there can be attorney-issued subpoenas. Because these are out-of-state subpoenas being issued in out-of-state cases. The determination was made by the clerks and that it is better to track these and to enforce them if those subpoenas from out-of-state cases are issued by clerks rather than the out-of-state attorneys.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is Senator from Fairfax City? Senator Peterson rise.
I speak against the bill very briefly.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, I wouldn't normally speak, and probably I shouldn't, but I will point out that we had a hearing before the Courts of Justice, I think a month ago, in which we were told there weren't enough clerks, and they weren't able to issue summons, and a lawsuit would be filed, and it would sit in the district court clerk's office because there weren't enough folks there. And now we find out we got to send our subpoenas through the clerk's office for a foreign case because apparently we're not competent enough to do it ourselves as Virginia practitioners. So I'm just saying, hey, let's spread the workload a little bit. You can send out the subpoena yourself and not have them do it for you.
Thank the senator. For what purpose is Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain rise?
Point of clarification. Speak to the bill.
Senator's floor.
I would point out to the body that the workforce shortage was in the General District Court, where warrants and debt were slow getting out and getting served. These are circuit court clerks that are issuing these subpoenas under the Uniform Foreign Deposition Act, and this is something the clerks asked for, and I respectfully submit it. It makes good sense.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall House Bill 1023 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 2.
Ayes 38, noes 2.
House Bill 1044, a bill relating to school board policies, healthy school workplaces. Reported from the Committee on Education and Health with a substitute.
Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that the committee substitute be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to. Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move the bill pass. And speaking the motion.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, most school divisions in the Commonwealth of Virginia have a policy prohibiting an abusive work environment. This bill will just make sure they all have it.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 1044? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1044 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 1.
Ayes 39, noes 1.
House Bill 1193, a bill relating to persons acquitted by reason of insanity, commitment, sentencing. Reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with amendments.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I move that the committee amendments be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to. Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I move that the bill pass. And speaking to the bill,
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, this bill deals with the order in which somebody who is convicted of both a crime and acquitted of another crime at the same time on account of lack of insanity. The order in which they are to receive treatment and incarceration. The courts issued an opinion last year that said, we don't know. We don't know what the General Assembly intends. And this simply says that they receive their incarceration first. And then before they are released to the community, they receive the treatment for the insanity. Which seems to make sense. It is a good policy determination before folks get out of prison, released back into the community, make sure that they are capable and that to the extent that they need treatment, that they receive it before getting out. This is all that this does.
Thank you, Senator. For what purpose is Senator from Bath, Senator Deeds, rise?
To speak to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Briefly. It's not often that I will disagree on these sorts of issues with my friend from the delegate from Albemarle, but I do on this bill. And let me tell you why. Mental illness affects individuals differently. They can have the same diagnosis and be treated or be subject to different sorts of treatments. I would suggest that the court is in the best position to exercise discretion on an individual case. There may be cases where it makes perfect sense for them to be incarcerated before they are treated, but there may be cases where treatment comes before incarceration, and that's what the judge is in a position to deem best, and so I don't think this is a good idea.
Thank the Senator. For what purpose is Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards, rise?
Mr. President, I'd like to rise to associate myself with the comments from the Senator from Bath. Mr. President, as I understand, to more fully inform the body, my understanding of how this case came about was a circuit court judge found a person guilty and then acquitted in another charge by reason of insanity. And the judge said, well, I think he should serve his time first and then be treated. It went to the Court of Appeals, Virginia, and they reversed and said that made no sense. And it's unusual for the Court of Appeals to reverse a circuit court judge on a criminal matter. Occasionally they do it, I suppose, but not in my experience is not too often. And then it went to the Supreme Court of Virginia. And the Supreme Court of Virginia reversed the Court of Appeals and says we think we ought to go back to and give greater discretion to the sentencing judge, the circuit court judge. So they kind of left it up in the air, but the decision was made to leave it up to the circuit court judge, which I think is the appropriate thing to do. Leave it up to the circuit court judge. But it makes no sense to mandate, as this bill would do, to mandate that if a person is convicted and given a time to serve and then found not guilty by reason of insanity in order to have treatment, it makes no sense to mandate that the person serve their time first before treatment. In fact, the logic is give the person treatment first before they serve any time based on a conviction. So, Mr. President, I would hope we would defeat this bill. It's illogical. And at best, we ought to leave it to the circuit court judges to make these decisions, who are in the best position to make these kinds of decisions. So I would hope the body would vote no. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard? Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I appreciate the comments of the Senator from Bath and the Senator from Roanoke City, but I would point out that the decision comes as a result of an ambiguity in state law. And the Supreme Court actually said, quote, there is no statutory direction concerning the proper sequence of the imposition of the incarceration for the criminal conviction in relation to his involuntary civil commitment for different crimes, and asked for that direction. This was not the patron's idea. It was not the patron's choice. This was the recommendation of the Department of Behavioral Health and the Department of Corrections, who asked for this sequence. They said this is in the best interest of the person who is convicted under those circumstances and in the best interest of society at large. So I would ask that the body not second guess the professionals and that we adopt the approach recommended by the Department of Behavioral Health and the Department of Corrections.
Thank the Senator. Question is, shall House Bill 1193 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 21, noes 19.
Ayes 21, noes 19. House Bill 1193 passes.
House Bill 1285, a bill relating to transportation project selection in Planning District 8 public meeting. Reported from the Committee on Transportation.
Mr. President,
Junior Senator from Loudoun County, Senator Wexton.
could that bill go by for the day, please?
Without objection, House Bill 1285 will go by for the day.
House Bill 1301, a bill relating to judges' central registry records check. Reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with a substitute.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I move the committee substitute be agreed to.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to. Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I move the bill pass. And speaking to that,
Senator has the floor.
This bill simply requires that judges and substitute judges seeking re-election submit to a criminal records check in order to check whether they've been found, whether there have been any founded charges against them. The amendment that was adopted also requires persons who are applying for first time to be elected as a judge to submit statements of economic interest in addition to their criminal records check in order to be reviewed by members of the legislature prior to election.
Thank the Senator. For what purpose is Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson rise?
Gentleman, yield for a question.
Will Senator yield?
I'll yield.
Senator yields, you have the floor.
I'd ask the gentleman, my recollection was there was also an issue of whether or not they had been the subject of a founded complaint by an administrative agency.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I think that there was a requirement for there to be a check as to whether there were any founded complaints of child abuse and neglect.
Further question?
I thank the gentleman.
Thank the Senator. What purpose Senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Surville rise?
Will gentleman yield for a question?
Will Senator yield?
I yield.
Senator yields. You have the
Thank
floor.
you. I noticed that we also, earlier this session, passed the Senator from King George's bill, Senate Bill 939. It looks like that the other bodies acted favorably on that. I was curious, given that we're applying this to substitute judges, why we wouldn't be extending this to retired judges who are going to be sitting in addition to the current and the subs.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I would submit that the gentleman could get his own bill.
Further
Appreciate
question?
it. I'm always happy to put in more bills. So
we've noticed.
Senator, do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 1301? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1301 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 2.
Ayes 38, noes 2. House Bill 1301 passes.
House Bill 1323, a bill relating to military surplus motor vehicles, registration and operation on highways penalty. Reported from the Committee on Transportation with a substitute, and there is a floor substitute.
Senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico.
Mr. President, I ask that we reject the committee substitute. I have a floor substitute.
Thank the Senator. With the recommendation that it be rejected, the question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no.
No.
The noes have it. The committee substitute is rejected. Senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico.
Now, Mr. President, I ask that we agree to the floor substitute, and I waive the reading of that substitute.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall the reading of the floor substitute be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor substitute is waived. Senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico.
Now, Mr. President, I ask that we accept the floor substitute and to explain substitute.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, the floor substitute now puts the bill in the posture to have a definition of a military surplus motor vehicle, meaning it's a multi-purpose tactical vehicle manufactured under the direction of the United States Armed Forces for off-road use and subsequently sold to civilians as a military surplus vehicle. Then, Mr. President, it basically breaks down how that vehicle is to be registered. It'll be a one-time $100 fee. It can be used for off-road events, on-road club activities, exhibits, tours, parades, and similar events. It also can be driven from its place of where it's housed of 125 miles to another location for occasional use. And it also gives law enforcement the authority to stop the vehicle and inquire from where it's going, where it's came from, and where it's going to. And the last part is that any of these vehicles that are currently registered as of January 2018, that they can continue to register these vehicles as they normally have as a vehicle that the owner uses for purposes pertain to them. I hope it would be the pleasure of the body to accept the floor substitute.
Thank the senator. For what purpose does the junior senator from Loudoun, Senator Wexton, rise?
To inquire whether the senator would yield for a question.
Will the senator yield for a question?
I'll yield.
Senator yields.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would ask of the senator. At committee, there were a lot of folks who had already purchased, like Humvees, military surplus vehicles, and they were concerned about being grandfathered in. It appears that under the floor substitute, they continue to be grandfathered in. Is that correct?
That's correct. The in line 455, I think, through 459, those vehicles will be grandfathered.
Mr. President, if
Further question?
I thank the gentleman. If he would yield for another question.
I'll yield.
Senator yields. You have the floor.
But it appears that if they are to sell the vehicle to another individual buyer, that subsequent buyer would have to register the vehicle under this new code section. Is that correct?
That's correct. Okay. If it's not designed for, according... That was one of those owners. According to the way that these vehicles are designed, some are designed to be off-road use only. They're not stamped, but some are. Some are designed. The military does buy vehicles that are approved by the traffic safety, and if they have the stamp, they can continue to register those just as another vehicle when they're sold. But if it is a vehicle that's designed solely for off-road use, they'll have to register it as a military surplus.
Mr. President, final question for
Senator has
the
the
gentleman.
floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. And is there some indication on the title for those vehicles that are not designed for on-road use? Is there some indication?
Yes, they stamp those titles when they're sold. When that vehicle's sold by the military, that does have that stamp on it.
I thank the gentleman.
Thank the senator. Question is, shall the floor substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The floor substitute is agreed to. Junior Senators from Virginia Beach, Senator D. Steph.
Can that bill go by temporarily for an amendment?
Without objection, House Bill 1323 will go by temporarily.
House Bill 1454, a bill relating to civil immunity programs for probationers, nonprofit corporation officials, work site supervisors. Reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, I move that the bill pass. And speaking to the bill,
Senator has the floor.
Right now, criminal defendants who are being supervised by the Department of Probation and Parole, if they file a claim against probation and parole for injuries they sustain while doing the community service, probation and parole has immunity, civil immunity. This simply extends that same civil immunity to a nonprofit corporation that supervises their work as part of a court-ordered community service program as well. The same immunity is being provided to them that already exists for others who supervise them.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 1454? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1454 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote. Aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, noes 4.
Ayes 36, noes 4.
House Bill 1464, a bill relating to auxiliary lights on motorcycles and autocycles. Reported for the Committee on Transportation with amendments.
Senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move the committee amendments and ask.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to. Senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico.
Mr. President, this is the motorcycle bill that allows the exterior lights to be placed on along underneath the gas tanks and seats for better lighting on the motorcycle. The amendment basically says that they have to be designed for vehicles or motorcycles, and it basically allows red or amber to be placed on that motorcycle with a downward projection, and that the light cannot extend 10 feet of the motorcycle. Hope it would be the pleasure of the bill, pleasure of the body to pass the bill.
Thank the Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 1464? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1464 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote. Aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 2.
Ayes 38, noes 2. House Bill 1464 passes.
House Bill 1525, a bill relating to use of handheld personal communication devices, highway work zone. Reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice.
Senator from Russell, Senator Chafin.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a construction work zone bill that imposes a mandatory fine of $250 for using a handheld personal communications device for texting while operating a motor vehicle in a highway work zone. The bill makes no changes to Virginia's existing texting and driving law. It merely states that if a violation of the current law occurs in a work zone, the fine is increased. Currently, the fine is $125, and for the first violation, $250 for a second violation. According to data from the Virginia Department of Transportation, in 2017, there were 2,553 accidents, 1,267 injuries, and 12 fatalities in Virginia's highway work zones. In fact, just last month, a VDOT contractor was killed in Prince George County when a distracted driver was looking down at her phone. This is the type of incident that this bill gets at.
Thank the Senator. For what purpose is Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson rise?
Mr. Chair, Mr. President, parliamentary inquiry. And I guess my question would be if we've already passed House Bill 181, although that'll be final passage later today, and that overlaps with House Bill 1525, is it possible for us to pass two mutually exclusive bills on the same day?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
What purpose is Senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards rise?
Will the senator from Russell yield for a question?
Will Senator yield?
I will yield.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, is this a mandatory minimum of $250 fine with the judge having no discretion?
Mr. President, I would tell the gentleman from Roanoke City that I believe it is a $250 mandatory fine.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 1525? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1525 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 29, noes 10.
Ayes 29, noes 10. House Bill 1525 passes.
House Bill 1550, a bill relating to grand larceny and certain property crimes threshold, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice.
Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshane.
Mr. President, is this the last bill on the regular calendar? Mr. President, I move the bill pass. This is the bill that raises the felony threshold for larceny from $200 to $500.
Thank the senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 1550? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1550 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 1.
Ayes 39, noes 1. House Bill 1550 passes.
Returning to page 42, House Bill 181. We have a floor amendment.
Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to waive the reading of the floor amendment.
Question is, shall the reading of the floor amendment be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor amendment is waived. Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the distracted driving bill that then became the hands-free bill a couple hours ago. My amendments really are the same, and they do two things. They instruct the state police to promote best practices in terms of pulling over vehicles and trying to achieve a uniformity of enforcing the law, and secondly, collecting data on the characteristics of people that are actually pulled over using this law. And I will tell you, without getting too deeply into detail, this was actually an initiative I had several months ago, approached the Secretary of Public Safety about, and was something that they indicated an interest in doing. And I felt like this vehicle was a good, the right way to do it. And I've talked with the sponsor and with other folks that know this issue better than I do, and they thought it was a good idea. So I move that we pass these amendments.
Thank you, Senator. Senator from Russell, Senator Chafin rise.
Mr. President, I move, I rise in opposition, and I just want to make sure everybody understands what we've got here. Okay, what we're dealing with here today is we're dealing with something that requires true, hands-free, voice-activated type of apparatus.
Mr. President, parliamentary inquiry. This is on the amendments.
Mr. President, I don't have any comments with regard to the amendment. I wish to rise momentarily on the bill.
Mr. President, can this bill go by for the day?
Without objection, House Bill 181 will go by for the day.
Page 56, House Bill 1323. We have a floor amendment.
Junior Senator from Virginia Beach, Senator D. Steph.
Mr. President, I wanted to explain the floor amendment real quick.
Waive the reading?
Waive the reading of the floor amendment. Actually, I'll probably read it anyway, but that's okay.
Question is, shall the reading of the floor amendment be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor amendment is waived. Junior Senator from Virginia Beach, Senator D. Steph.
So, Mr. President, what we're doing with this floor amendment, to explain it, we're going from January 1st, 2018 to January 1st, 2019. So what this will do is allow anyone who's purchased a vehicle from the beginning of January through next January, so those who purchased a vehicle yesterday or last week, then they would be able to be grandfathered under this as well. And that's pretty much it. So with that, I request we pass the floor amendment.
Thank the Senator. Question is, shall the floor amendment be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The floor amendment is adopted. Senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico.
Mr. President, having previously explained the bill, I ask that we pass the bill.
Thank you, Senator. Do any other senators wish to be heard on House Bill 1323? Seeing none, the question is, shall House Bill 1323 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, noes 4.
Ayes 36, noes 4. House Bill 1323 passes.
Uncontested calendar, House bills on second reading.
From James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, after having labored through 19 pages of the House bills on the third reading on the regular calendar, I think that's as close to legislative purgatory as I've ever been. Frankly, the only thing worse that I could imagine would be a child in a rear-facing car seat whose parents are arguing about exfoliation while they're texting. Mr. President, I respectfully move that all the House bills on the second reading of both the uncontested and regular calendar, including all House bills on pages 59 through 63, including House Bill 771 through House Bill 1393, that the rules of the Senate be suspended and that the second constitutional reading of the titles be dispensed with, sir.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the rules be suspended and the second reading of the titles of House bills on the uncontested and regular calendars, pages 59 through 63, House Bill 771 through House Bill 1393, be dispensed with? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk, close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The reading of the titles is dispensed with. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, I now move that all the bills be passed by for the day, sir.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the House bills on the uncontested and regular calendars now on third reading be passed by for the day? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bills will go by for the day.
Page 64, regular calendar, Senate bill on second reading. Senate Bill 995, a bill relating to outdoor advertising. Reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice with an amendment.
Senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the committee amendment.
Question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is agreed to. Senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico.
Mr. President, this is this Senate bill was handed down by the governor in
Senator,
related.
sorry to interrupt. I think we just need to engross in advance. At this point.
I'm sorry. Engross and advance the bill to its third reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the bill be engrossed in advance to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is engrossed in advance to its third reading.
Uncontested calendar, House Joint Resolutions on third reading.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, I would now move that all of the House Joint Resolutions on the third reading on the uncontested calendar, including all resolutions on pages 65 through 72, including House Joint Resolution number 6 through House Joint Resolution 235, be placed on their final passage in the block after the adoption of any amendments. Any senator who may desire to remove a resolution from the block should please do so after the clerk has read the number of that resolution.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall House Joint Resolutions on the uncontested calendar, third reading, pages 65 through 72, House Joint Resolution 6 through House Joint Resolution 235, be placed upon their final passage in a block after the adoption of any amendments thereto, with the understanding that any senator desiring a resolution be removed from the block will do so after the clerk has read the number of the resolution. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The resolutions are before us in a block. Clerk will read the number of the resolutions.
House Joint Resolution 6, reported from the Committee on Finance.
Senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. President. That one needs to come out of the block, please.
Without objection, House Joint Resolution 6 is removed from the block.
House Joint Resolution 16, reported from the Committee on Rules. House Joint Resolution 23, reported from the Committee on Rules. House Joint Resolution 26, reported from the Committee on Rules. House Joint Resolution 30, reported from the Committee on Rules. House Joint Resolution 31, reported from the Committee on Rules. House Joint Resolution 37, reported from the Committee on Rules with a substitute.
Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Mr. President, I move the committee substitute be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to.
House Joint Resolution 38, reported from the Committee on Rules. House Joint Resolution 42, reported from the Committee on Rules. House Joint Resolution 55, reported from the Committee on Rules. House Joint Resolution 59, reported from the Committee on Rules. House Joint Resolution 64, reported from the Committee on Rules. House Joint Resolution 65, reported from the Committee on Rules. House Joint Resolution 67, reported from the Committee on Rules. House Joint Resolution 76, reported from the Committee on Rules. House Joint Resolution 77, reported from the Committee on Rules. House Joint Resolution 81, reported from the Committee on Rules. House Joint Resolution 86, reported from the Committee on Rules with a substitute.
Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Mr. President, I move the committee substitute be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to.
House Joint Resolution 87, reported from the Committee on Rules with amendments.
Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Mr. President, I move the committee amendments be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to.
House Joint Resolution 90, reported from the Committee on Rules. House Joint Resolution 95, reported from the Committee on Rules. House Joint Resolution 98, reported from the Committee on Rules with amendments.
Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Mr. President, I move the committee amendments be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to.
House Joint Resolution 101, reported from the Committee on Finance with an amendment.
Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Mr. President, I move that the Committee on Finance amendment be agreed to.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is agreed to.
Mr. President.
Senior Senator from Loudoun, Senator Black.
Could House Joint Resolution 101 come out of the block, please?
Without objection, House Joint Resolution 101 is removed from the block.
House Joint Resolution 103, reported from the Committee on Rules. House Joint Resolution 114, reported from the Committee on Rules. House Joint Resolution 118, reported from the Committee on Finance with an amendment.
Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Mr. President, I move that the Committee on Finance amendment be agreed to.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendment is agreed to.
House Joint Resolution 131, reported from the Committee on Rules. House Joint Resolution 135, reported from the Committee on Rules. House Joint Resolution 142, reported from the Committee on Rules. House Joint Resolution 144, reported from the Committee on Rules. House Joint Resolution 178, reported from the Committee on Rules. House Joint Resolution 235, reported from the Committee on Rules with a substitute.
Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Mr. President, I move that the Rules Committee substitute be agreed to.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee substitute is agreed to. Question is, shall the House Joint Resolutions be agreed to in a block? That is, all resolutions except for House Joint Resolution 6 and 101. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolutions in the block are agreed to.
Returning to House Joint Resolution 6.
Senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move passage of the resolution, and the reason that was pulled out of the block is because that needs to be voted on the board and not by voice vote. And what this constitutional amendment does is it provides that property tax exemption for the principal residence of the surviving spouse of a disabled veteran applies without any restriction on the surviving spouse moving to a different residence. And so that's what it does, and I would ask that the resolution for the constitutional amendment please pass.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall House Joint Resolution 6 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. House Joint Resolution 6 is agreed to.
House Joint Resolution 101.
Mr. President.
Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Mr. President, I move that House Joint Resolution 101 pass. And speaking to the motion.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, this was a resolution directing the Department of Mines, Minerals, and Energy to look at a form of storage device for solar electricity, mainly a battery. Mr. President, going through the process, it was determined that the department might expend up to $100,000 as they're looking at this new technology, and thus we put the contingency clause from the Committee on Finance.
Thank the Senator. Question is, shall House Joint Resolution 101 be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Joint Resolution 101 is agreed to.
Uncontested calendar, Senate Joint Resolution on third reading. Senate Joint Resolution 191, confirming appointments by the governor of certain persons communicated February 23, 2018. Reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections.
Senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the resolution be agreed to. Speaking to that motion.
Thank you, Senator. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is one of the governor's appointments, and I ask that the resolution pass.
Thank the Senator. Question is, shall Senate Joint Resolution 191 be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Uncontested calendar, Senate Joint Resolutions on second reading. Senate Joint Resolution 162, commending the Virginia Association of Free and Charitable Clinics, Incorporated. Reported from the Committee on Rules with a substitute.
Senator from Henrico, Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the committee substitute. It was just some language change to make it consistent with the intent.
Thank the Senator. Question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Committee substitute is adopted. Senator from Henrico, Senator Donovan.
I'm so sorry, Mr. President. I move that we engross and advance that to its third constitutional reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall Senate Joint Resolution 162 be engrossed in advance to its third constitutional reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Senate Joint Resolution is engrossed in advance to its third constitutional reading.
Senate Joint Resolution 207, amending the Virginia Department of Veterans Services Benefits section, reported for the Committee on Rules with the substitute.
Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move the committee substitute.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be adopted? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Committee substitute is adopted. Senator from Spotsylvania, Senator Reeves.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move that we would engross and advance to its third constitutional reading.
Thank the senator. The question is, shall Senate Joint Resolution 207 be engrossed in advance to its third constitutional reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Joint Resolution 207 is engrossed in advance to its third constitutional reading. Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, inquiry of the clerk. Does that mercifully complete the calendar?
Thankfully, yes.
Madam Clerk, do any other senators wish to be recognized?
Mr. President.
Senior Senator from Virginia Beach, Senator Wagner.
For a very, very brief point of personal privilege.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, you will be receiving this week from the Chesapeake Bay Commission the 2017 annual report. I encourage you all to read it. The Chesapeake Bay Commission, for those not familiar, is really one of the first. It's the only environmental group that represents 3 different states. It's a multi-state jurisdiction, nearly 40 years old. We have 2 senators and 3 members of the House from Virginia, Pennsylvania, and Maryland, as well as a prominent citizen member, as well as a permanent staff member from each of those states, and an executive board that meets in Annapolis. The report is very interesting. I think you'll find the emphasis of what we try to do is focus those areas that will have the most impact on cleaning up the bay. You'll read a fairly extensive section about our efforts to work with the agricultural community in terms of reducing the overall TMDL coming from the ag land, a need for various things. And I think you'll see some reflections in this budget this year that reflect Virginia's commitment to meeting those concerns. You'll also read about things with Susquehanna River, which represents 50% of the total freshwater flow through the Chesapeake Bay. The problems we're experiencing on that with 3 particular dams up there that have been acting like BMPs but now have reached capacity and present a specific dilemma for the Commission as we continue to try to improve the quality of the bay, and then some significant sections on science and sediment. So I would encourage everyone to read. I have the honor and privilege of chairing both the Virginia delegation as well as chairing the entire Chesapeake Bay Commission this year, and we look forward to making some great progress. We have some challenges with the federal government right now in terms of funding, and we'll be working on that throughout the remainder part of this year as the federal government starts to put their budget together. So I encourage you all's reading. It's a great commission. It's been an honor to serve on it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank the senator. What purpose is Senator from Prince William? Senator McPike rise.
Thank you, Mr. President. Rise for a brief point of personal privilege.
Senator has the floor.
This is an update reminder from your Friday update on I-66. And as a reminder for today, today's update is the tolls reached $46.75 during its peak period. And as a reminder to the body, this road has no regular lanes. There are no new parking lots built for people to slug and ride the bus along those lanes. And as a reminder, VDOT excluded 3 additional hours of commuting for our families. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator. Clerk will report any announcements on the desk.
On page 10 of the calendar, House Bill 188, there is a change in conferees on House Bill 188. Change in conferees by the Chairman of Courts of Justice, Senator Obenshain, Senators Stanley, Obenshain, and Deeds. Today, Monday, March the 5th, The Committee on Commerce and Labor will not meet. Commerce and Labor will not meet. Tomorrow, Tuesday, March the 6th, Republican caucus will meet 1/2 hour before session in Senate Room 2. The Democratic caucus will meet 1/2 hour before session in Senate Room 1.
Does that complete the announcements, Madam Clerk? And the final two announcements are UVA men's basketball are the regular season ACC champions, and I think that we should congratulate them on a great and wonderful season. And Duke University 74, Carolina 64. So I hope you all caught that game as well over the weekend. Call Senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate do now adjourn until 11 tomorrow, and the Senate suspend the rules and direct the clerk to accept memorial and commending resolutions to be introduced until 5 p.m. today.
Thank the Senator. The question is, shall the Senate adjourn until 11 a.m. tomorrow, and that the Senate suspend the rules and direct the clerk to accept memorial and commending resolutions to be introduced until 5 p.m. today? All in favor will record their vote aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Senate does now adjourn until 11 a.m. tomorrow, and the Senate has suspended the rules and directed the clerk to accept memorial and commending resolutions to be introduced until 5 p.m. today.